This podcast is brought to you by JList.com. Well, everybody pretty much loves Pocky, and JList and JBox.com are fantastic sources for Pocky. They have tons of exotic flavors. And of course, they do have your original flavor as well, but check this out. Glico Pocky milk flavor, Almond Crush, Tsubutsubu strawberry, Hakuto and Ichigo flavor, and I don't even know what a Hakuto is, but I want it. Kuromitsu Kinako flavor. They even have whiskey-flavored Pocky, and I'm going to tell you, if you're a fan of whiskey, I know you want to try some whiskey-flavored Pocky. And don't forget the other snacks like Topo. They have baked chocolate flavor, bitter chocolate, strawberry milk, sweet potato, and cream. And a Topo is kind of like an inside-out Pocky, if you've never seen those. Fantastic for coffee. Head over to JList or JBox.com right now and browse their unbelievable selection of Japanese snacks. I'm sure you'll find something you'll love, and you'll be supporting the podcast as well. And now it's time to start the show.
来てくれてありがとう You're listening to the Anime Addicts Anonymous Podcast. Take your anime addiction to the next level at aapodcast.com/join. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Welcome in, everybody, to the 514th episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast, where our sole mission is to make your anime addiction worse. I am broadcasting live from Colorado. I am Mitsugi, and I'm glad to have everybody here. For those of you that are listening at home, thank you so much for listening. Those of you that are watching live with your actual eyeballs, thank you for watching live as well. I am joined by the unbelievably fantastic Mason from Connecticut. What's up, Mason?
Hey, how's it going? The weather is very nice outside there today, and Hakuto is white peach flavored. For
Oh,
those of
snap.
You, wanted to know. So there you go.
That sounds delicious. And of course, we have Mandi as well. Mandi, how are you from representing the middle of the country over there in Ohio? How are you?
I'm doing all right. And yeah, it's really nice out today, but I can't be out there. I'm here, making sure you guys are not bored.
There you go. She said it. And I'm going to crack open this new flavored monster. Oh, Ultimate Rosé, they call it. They don't even know what flavor this is. Wait. Yep, I just took a taste. I still don't know what flavor it is. It is 67 degrees in Colorado, and I came off a mountain last night where it was about 10 at the top, and I have a very odd-looking sunburn straight across the middle of my face. So if you're watching live on camera and you see like the middle of my face is from about my lips to the top of my nose, they're all bright red, and I'm just burned. Guys, we have a lot of extra content for you to offer. We have our hentai episodes, which we did last week, where we selected our shows from the March hentai slate. We also just recorded a Hobby Addicts, where we talked about the Final Fantasy VII demo for an hour. So if you would like to get all of the info on the Final Fantasy VII demo, definitely check out Hobby Addicts. And we're going to be recording an after party as well after the show today. And you can get all of that over at aapodcast.com/join. You will get all that content every week. You'll make sure that we are still able to run the show the way we want. And, of course, we will love you eternally. We're also on Twitch. You can join us over on Twitch, of course, at twitch.tv/aapodcast. We're on Facebook. We're on Discord. You can get the Discord from our website. So check that out as well. And the Discord is always full of activity. Guys, what are we doing on the Discord right now?
We're doing so much. We like I say, it's more than just anime discussion. We've got games. We've got cats meowing in the background.
Ooh.
I know, sorry.
It's adorable. And it's free, guys. Discord is free, and it's amazing, and it's the best. And it's the best place to give us feedback to help our show become even better. The Health Club, Block 2 has just started, and everyone is off to a great start. So if you want to become a real fit boy and girl, stop on by and get inspired to do so.
We also have Anime Club. Guys, come the 11th, this Wednesday, because we are going to be doing Mononoke. That is the Samurai Horror Stories Mononoke spinoff. And it's so good. It's one of my favorites. So I'm very excited. And that will be this Wednesday at 10 p.m. EST. All you got to do is go to Discord and join the voice chat after you have watched the anime, and we're just going to talk about it. And there's also currently a poll up on our Discord for the next show, and it is between the 70s Lupin III, The Eccentric Family, or Kokoro Connect. So also vote to see which one the club will do next. And then there's also my manga club. So the last time we did Princess Jellyfish. The time before that, we did the Showdown. So this time we decided to do Shoujo Showdown. So we are going to be reading volumes 1 of Ao Haru Ride, Skip Beat, and Kimi ni Toroke. There'll be volume 1 of all of those, and then we'll chat about all of them on March 18th. So come join us. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. You can just read it and come and listen to us if you would like. So,
or at least stay for the after party, which usually entails 4 to 6 hours of just mindless shenanigans.
Wow.
And a good time. So, no.
Yeah, I usually go to bed when that happens.
Not Discord related, but just another reminder, Mandy and I will be attending Anime Boston this year. It's from April 10th to Sunday the 12th, provided it's not canceled because of everything that's going on.
Maybe.
I'm just excited. The new Maid of Abyss, Dawn of the Deep Soul movie that got announced is actually going to be premiering there on Saturday the 11th. So, if hopefully we get a chance to scope it out a little bit early. So I'm excited.
Trying to stop my cat's tail from hitting the mic. I'm so sorry.
There's a cat on the camera. Cat alert.
She's trying to smack the mic with her tail, and I know it's making sounds, so.
It's the dangerous booty. You got to beware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really hope Anime Boston doesn't get canceled due to the virus. But if you guys do go, I highly suggest you find a place with quality lobster rolls. Definitely should do that. Oh, they're so good. So buttery.
I heard
and
Go-Go
yummy.
Curry's there, so I'm excited.
It is indeed. We will be making a pit stop there at least.
Well,
yes, please.
Few things are better than Japanese curry, so I will agree to that. Guys, stay on the show. We're going to be doing a topic that was suggested by Icy Rose, and I have dubbed the title 7 Deadly Anime Plots, which is basically just the 7 plots of story writing and the anime that fit most perfectly into those different topic categories. And of course, we're going to be reviewing Fire Force, which has been a long time coming. Listener choice anime from the summer of 2019. See, we do review the anime that you pick for listener choice. It does happen. But without further ado, let's get this thing rolling.
Oh, 大ニュースです. It's time for big news of the week.
That cat is now officially part of the show.
Yeah.
She is.
There you
She's
go.
just. Are you going to be here all day? Okay.
When you want her to talk, she doesn't.
Shino Tenchi in the chat is saying we need a permanent cat/ferret cam in the force spot when Enzo's not here.
See, you can't have a ferret cam unless it's like on something really fast because they never stop moving.
They're just running all over the place. All right, guys. Well, the big news of the week, it's pretty big, I guess. The Bleach creator, Kubo Tite, has a new work coming out. It's going to be unveiled on March 21st. This matters, I think, because, one, Bleach is a big title, and Kubo was the creator of Bleach, so in case you didn't know. And, there we go. There we go. And, of course...
the meow.
Yeah. And he hasn't done a lot other than Bleach. It's been a while, So the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine, they were going to have a big event about this at Anime Japan 2020, but of course, due to coronavirus, they canceled Anime Japan, which, man, what a bummer. That's a big event. That's such a big event. So much work goes into an event like that, and then to have it canceled, it's got to be brutal. But they canceled it, and so now they're going to be doing the announcement via live stream on March 21st, early in the morning, like 9:45 a.m., and it's going to be live streamed on Shonen Jump's YouTube channel if you want to be around to check that out. Bleach is pretty much the only thing that Tite Kubo has really done. I looked into it. And Bleach came out in 2004 in the anime version. He's done a couple of smaller manga, like there's one called Zombie Powder that's 4 volumes, came out in 1999. and one that most recently he did a manga called Burn the Witch, which came out in 2018, and it's only one chapter. So he's not that prolific, but Bleach is a very big title. So what do you guys think we can expect from this new property?
I'm not sure. I never finished Bleach. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
When we did it for Shonen Showdown, it was my first experience with Bleach at all. So I don't know.
So we've read one volume out of 74. So I think we're both pretty.
I'm an expert by now.
Exactly.
I assume
Yes,
it's going to be. I assume it'll be shonen. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like people are manga creators. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times they'll stick to their genre. I think that writers ought to stick to what they're best at, you know. And so
I don't know if I just spent 15 years doing a shonen series, I probably would be a little sick of shonen at this point and might want to mix it up.
But I mean, the anime of Bleach came out in 2004. So it's been a while. Like
Bleach was from 2001 to 2016, 2017.
The manga.
But
It
does
ran
he
for a while. Yeah, the manga ran for a while.
But does he still work for Shonen Jump though? Because then probably a good bet
Maybe
it's
he's
gonna be Shonen.
contractually obligated.
Well, they said they said they're going to announce this on the Shonen Jump live stream on the YouTube, on the YouTube
It's
channel
gotta
for
be
Jump.
Shonen.
So I would assume it's Shonen Jump. So
Don't forget you're here for life. I guess that's the motto.
What I've learned from Bakuman, that's true.
I mean, this guy's made a ton. I mean, I don't know what the lifetime sales are for Bleach. I'll look it up. But I assume Bleach has sold a lot of copies. Anybody want to take a guess at that? For let's make a game out of it. For
Less than One Piece, does that count as a guess?
That's a pretty safe assumption. So for a benchmark, Hunter x Hunter sold 78 million copies. Yu Yu Hakusho sold 50 million. How many do you think Bleach has sold? Let's see. I'm gonna guess 32 million. How many? What do you guys think?
I would say more than Hunter x Hunter.
I was
don't
going to
know.
guess more. I was going to guess 127 million.
Yeah, I'd say so because it's still considered one of the big shonen. So I don't know.
So I don't know. Apparently, I know nothing because it has sold 120 million. It is the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th highest selling manga ever, which is just shy of Slam Dunk. And man, that's wow. Okay, I mean, I would think that if he's wow, the guy's he's very wealthy, but I would think that if I was that big of a success doing shonen, a lot like Togashi is, he's probably making another shonen. I guess I don't know if the announcement said if it was going to be an anime or a manga or both, but I mean, I assume it's a manga for starters.
Yeah, so. They will make an anime of it until it does so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me double check this link. Let me reread the thing that I should have read before.
I guess I'm fairly excited about it. I didn't watch Bleach, but I do like shonen, and I assume it won't be another Bleach anime. So I guess I'm excited. I mean, I really loved Dr. Stone. We just watched Fire Force. Yeah, I'm watching My Hero Academia right now. I think shonen is kind of in my blood in a way, and so I guess I'm kind of excited to see what else this guy's got under his sleeve. So I think it's big news. This is kind of like it'd be almost like if One Piece ended and then the guy was making another anime, the One Piece guy. So yeah, Oda. So
Oda's forever going to be sailing the seas.
I mean,
it's fine with me though.
That guy is he's really, really rich. Anything else about this, guys?
Nope, I got nothing.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm curious because I had never finished Bleach, so I don't know if it's going to be like a continuation with like the same characters or if it's going to be something completely new in that universe. I don't know. It'd be interesting though. I've seen a lot of buzz around it. People seem really excited.
People in our live stream seem to have mixed feelings about it. There are people saying that they liked early Bleach, that it got a little fillery at the end.
Yeah,
so
a lot of people in our Shonen Showdown also said the same thing.
And by the way, for those of you that are watching live, again, thank you. And if you haven't followed us yet on Twitch, please follow. All right, well, shall we move on to the next section of the show?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
日本のいいとこ見てみよ It's time to live big in Japan.
Trying this out for the second time, this segment. I think we've all been in Japan now. We've all ridden trains ad nauseum in Japan since it's the preferred mode of transit. And so I thought, people that are going to go to Japan are going to end up riding trains. It's inevitable. You can't avoid it. And there's a lot of train etiquette to be had. And so for those of you that are planning a trip to Japan, pay attention, because I have formulated sort of a top 5 list of most important train etiquette that we can all run through and share our own experiences here. The first one, the most important one, I think, is be quiet. So we've all ridden trains. Did any of you guys experience that moment where you get onto a train with like 400 people and it's just dead silent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except for our group.
Exactly.
Except
right.
for some people in our group who are very loud. Not naming names, but
Yeah. So like in Japan, everyone's very like, I don't want to say docile, like that's not the right word, but they're very about maintaining harmony. And so like they're not really going to be, unless something really bad is happening, they're not going to be the type of people that tell you to shut the hell up, Mm-hmm. And so like people might not realize that they're being rude, but you don't want to be that noisy foreigner on a train. You'll see Japanese people being noisy sometimes, but usually they're like rowdy teenagers. And you just kind of want to give a good impression of foreigners, I think, when you're in Japan. Japan is already kind of a country that is leery of foreigners because it's an island nation and it's expensive to go to, and so there's not a lot of foreigners in Japan, and so they're already kind of like mystified by foreigners, and you just don't want to give off a bad impression. So that's the first thing. The second thing is be mindful of the reserved areas on the trains. Japan has had a variety of problems on trains. A lot of them relating to women. So like there have been problems and still are problems with chikans in Japan, which chikan is a term that means train groper. And a lot of times, especially during rush hour, you will be packed into a train like a sardine. And I'm not kidding, like Jell-O mold tight.
Yeah, we've experienced that.
Yeah, it's like there's no real personal space on a train when it gets really crowded. And people will just like, like the train door will open and there's like a wall of people. And you just think there's no way we can fit another person. And they almost just like dive into the train and just squeeze in. And it's just it's real easy to like for women to get groped on trains and stuff when that happens. Cause it's like, you're pressed up against people. And so there are trains, a lot of trains in Japan have a train car just for women, and they're normally pink. Like there's a pink like highlight on them. And just don't use these as a guy. You don't want to be in that train. Like it won't end well for you. Like I've never done this, but I can't imagine it would end well. So you don't want to be there. Like you'd probably get thrown off.
Even if you don't speak or read Japanese, it's very apparent which cars these are, and you will know pretty instantly. I mean, it's not just like lines and stuff, but even like the seat covers and stuff tend to be pink as well. So
it says it says women only in English, I'm pretty sure, on the train.
It does.
And on the platform where that train car stops.
Yeah, we rode one while we were there. Me and the rest of the ladies.
What was that like? I mean, I assume it
smells really nice.
Does it really?
It smells really nice.
Are you serious?
Nope. I mean, yes, I am serious.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Is that because men are just gross, or or are they like making it smell better?
I think I had air fresheners in there. I don't know.
It's probably a little bit of column A, a lot of column B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though, I feel like the packed like sardines train rides are few and far between.
Yeah.
At least when I went there, like unless you are taking a hyper populated train at like a rush hour time, like it's very like, don't expect that to be every experience. It happened maybe 2 or 3 times in my entire 4 weeks that I've been in Japan. So
I think when we were there, it only happened once, and we were already pretty close to the door, and I'm shorter than almost everybody. So
the classic duck and weave through the legs.
Yeah, I made it out really well. I was like by the door all by myself. And of course, everyone there is like avoiding me. So it was great.
Yeah,
I had like my mask on because I got really sick. So I think everyone assumed that I had the plague and were staying far away from me.
I think outside of the 3 biggest cities in Japan, and even then only in the big stations like Shinjuku Station or Tokyo Station, you're probably not going to run into this problem. The next thing is there's seating for elderly and handicapped on pretty much every train car. They tend to be on like the edges of the train, and it's also like really apparent. It's so obvious that this is not meant for people that aren't handicapped or, elderly or pregnant. So just don't be that person. This goes back into the column of like, you're a foreigner in Japan, you're a visitor, don't be a dick. And also if like an old man gets onto a train and that train is full and there's no seats, and this happens a lot, get up and give them your seat. Just do it. Like,
yep, we did that a lot.
They'd rather be sitting. And you know what? Sitting's bad for you anyway. Just stand and hold on to the handle, the arm straps or whatever. And I love riding trains in Japan, and I don't mind standing for long periods. I find it to be a lot of fun.
Although half the time when we try to give our seat to somebody who came on who's older, they'd always turn it down. They're like, no.
Well, they might, yeah. Line up peacefully outside the trains when you wait for them to arrive. A lot of times trains will be arriving like in 20 minutes. They always arrive like on the second. It's amazing. It's not like New York where like a train is supposed to arrive at 5 o'clock and it arrives at like 5:03. That doesn't happen in Japan. And if it does, they will apologize publicly. So line up peacefully, because there could be a lot of people getting on the train and it's just chaos. And you need to be able to unload and load that train fast. And so every station has markers on the platform for lining up. It indicates like, this is where the train door is going to stop. Here's where you line up. Please line up. And don't block the train doors so people can exit. It's kind of like an elevator. Let the people off first. And, just act like a civilized human, I guess is the word. Don't stand right in front of the door so they can't get out. Line up so that, people can have their orderly society.
Yeah, and I just made an addendum to this where when you're exiting the train, just keep on walking. Don't be the foreigner who gets out the train, is like, oh, I don't know if I need to go to left or right, and just stops right there and starts like looking for a sign. Just keep on moving with the flow. When it settles down, that's when you assess your surroundings. You'll be fine. Just don't be a roadblock in any way.
Adding
mindful.
Yeah, Mandi, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add something else to an earlier point. Like like you mentioned, don't talk on the train, but that also includes phones. Like, make sure your phone's on silent, even that, because like most of the time they'll give you dirty looks if your phone goes off.
Yeah, everybody is on their phones. Everybody.
Yeah.
But everyone, or on their DS or whatever, or their Switch, but they're not making lots of noise.
Yeah.
Or they're wearing headphones. That's probably the way to do it. To Mason's point, also, like, in addition to not like stopping and looking around when you get off a train, just move out of the way if people are trying to exit the train, because like sometimes there's only 15 seconds to get on and off the train, and it's crowded, and you're literally forcing your way through people to try to get the hell off this train, or you're screwed. Like, oh, the next stop's not for a while. You need to let people off. Point 4 was giving up a seat to an elderly person. I kind of jumped ahead, because Japan does have pretty much the oldest population in the world, aside from maybe a few small countries, and there's a lot of elderly people in Japan, and they need those seats way more than like I would, so. And this last one is one that I struggle with. I admit it. It's tough for me, and I've broken this rule a bunch of times. Do not eat, drink, smoke, or apply makeup on trains. I know that sounds weird. Don't apply makeup. It's just rude. I have frequently...
It's a safety thing, too. Something happens with the train, you don't want to stab yourself in the eye.
In the eyeball. Oh, it's like someone starts screaming and there's blood everywhere.
Yeah.
I have frequently eaten and drank on trains. I don't smoke, so I've never smoked. But it's still not polite to eat or drink on a train, even if it's like a small like onigiri or a small can of coffee. It's not really polite. I don't think I'm ever going to fully follow this rule, because I'm just a hungry guy, and I'm going to want to discreetly have a Coca-Cola on a train,
Well, aren't there some trains that like you can eat on? Like,
I mean, I was about to say an asterisk,
yeah.
like Shinkansen.
Yeah, Shinkansen.
Have like people serving trays, but that's when you're like, they're seating for everyone. You have tickets, you have a place to put trash and a place to do all that. Like,
yeah,
obviously on a train like that, you'll know when it's okay to eat. And I guess another small hack is a lot of time on Shinkansens, you can at the base where the seats connect to the floor, there's a little like foot lever that you can press and turn the seat around. So if you're in a group of like 4 or 5 people, you can turn your seats around so you can face each other and have soft, gentle, quiet conversations if you want.
And I think that's awesome. You can play cards or whatever. Shinkansen are oh my god, it's like the greatest way to travel. It's so expensive though, but bullet train. I was gonna say it's so expensive, but bullet trains are so nice. I would say like if there's like an attendant walking through with food, it's pretty obvious you can eat it. I like to get like gyoza or steamed buns or whatever at the station before getting on the train, and then eating that. It's just a little better than the food they'll give you on the train. But you know, I mean, we
got bentos when we went.
Oh, so good. Oh
yeah,
god, I'm hungry right now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Also, another unrelated train tip, but a lot of people will take the Shinkansen between Osaka and Tokyo on their trip, and you go by Mount Fuji. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I need to get a train seat on the Mount Fuji side so I can see Mount Fuji, otherwise I'm going to miss it. Don't sweat it at all. You can literally just get up from your seat, walk to like the in-between cars between where people sit, usually where the bathrooms are, and just take your pictures and stuff from there. So don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Everyone gets to see it and get pictures of it. So
yeah, the locations where the trains connect are usually not occupied by anybody really, and you can get a good look. I only make the makeup point because I was told this is impolite, and there are. I used to take this train back from this town called Mito. I think it was Mito. No, it was Ishioka, which is like way in the top north part of Ibaraki Prefecture, which is where I had to teach at a school a couple times a month. And it's about 2 hours by train to Tokyo from Ishioka. And I think I actually rode into Tokyo from there once, and I watched a girl put on makeup for the entire 2 hours. And I was like, this girl's got a hot date or something. But it was amazing that she didn't like gouge her eye out. But people are very they just don't want to see you doing your business. You know what I mean? And if so, like, they don't want to see you hugging and kissing each other. They don't want to see you putting on makeup. They don't want to see you. They don't even want you to know what book they're reading. So they'll have black covers on books, you know. And that's not train etiquette, but people just are very private. And so that's the end of the train etiquette discussion, I think. Unless you guys have more to add.
No, I think that's a good starting point, and we'll definitely get more in the weeds on future one of these. I think this is probably the longest intro, quote unquote, of this podcast ever, and I like it. I'm still
hopeful that we will do our Japan trip in 2021, and we got to start thinking about that pretty soon. And this and other topics like this are going to be important for people. But of course, you know, if you're coming on the trip with us, you'll be able to ask questions.
We're quizzing people on this. If you don't know these fundamentals, you're not getting on.
No. Bye, guys.
No way!
Eliminated.
Yes, I'm
sure. Got a very high standard for this. But and with that, we'll move on to trivia. So we have two types of trivia for you guys. First, we have our website trivia, which you can find at aaapodcast.com. You go down there, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's a picture where you can try to submit the answer to win fabulous prizes. The answer from last week was Nichijou. And the winner for the week was Nisekoi Maiko.
That's right.
The current theme remains anime cats, so if you know what those are all about, go check it out. But additionally, we have our in-show trivia, which we will answer after the news break, and that corresponds with the show we are reviewing today. So, Fire Force is written by Atsushi Okubo. What else is he the creator of? We'll let you know in just a little bit. Hang tight.
Hey, all you anime addicts. Mitsugi's here, and you know why. It's time for your anime news break. Leading us off with some various winners from different award ceremonies, including first the 14th Seiyu Awards held on March 7th, otherwise known as the award ceremony that goes to the best voice acting talent in Japan. Starting with Best Actor, Natsuki Hanai won for his work on Demon Slayer and Smile on the Runway. Best Actress went to Aoi Koga for her work on the Kaguya-sama Love is War property. There were some Best Supporting Actors as well. Kaito Ishikawa for his work on Tate no Yusha no Nariagari and also Haikyuu. Best Supporting Actress to Atsumi Tanezaki for her work on Beastars and Kono Oto Tomare. Kind of surprised to not see Makoto Miyano on here, but I guess you can't win every year. Next up, we have the 23rd Japan Media Arts Festival winners, which were announced in the animation division. The grand prize went to Children of the Sea by Ayumu Watanabe. Excellence awards went to various properties, including A Boy Who Draws, Gon the Little Fox, Long Way North, and Nettlehead. The New Face Award went to Wandering Mouse, Elephant in the Bathhouse, and other properties as well, such as The Daughter. Social Impact Award went to Weathering With You by Makoto Shinkai. If you're a big fan of anime, and I'm guessing you probably are, you might want to check out some of these different properties. Although they all may not be Japanese, they are probably all fantastic, as they were all given awards. Next up, we have a new anime announcement. Mighty Mashita Iruma-kun has been announced to be getting a season of anime, the second season, which will be coming out in spring 2021. The English subtitle for the property is Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun, where a 14-year-old Iruma Suzuki has been unfortunate all of his life, having to work to earn money for his irresponsible parents. One day he finds out that his parents sold him to the demon Sullivan. However, Iruma's worries about what will become of him are soon relieved, for Sullivan merely wants a grandchild, pampering him and making him attend the demon school Babels. So if you are a fan of fantasy anime with that sort of a tone to it, look out for this property. Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun, coming out in the spring of 2021. And now, of course, getting back to more award-winning announcements. The 43rd Japan Academy Prize was announced for Animation of the Year. And of course, as none of you are probably going to be surprised, it went to Makoto Shinkai's fantasy romance anime, Weathering With You, which, of course, as I said, won the 43rd Annual Japan Academy Awards. The film was nominated alongside other properties, which are probably noteworthy, and you might want to go take note of them and go see them, including Sora no Aosa no Shiru Hitoyo, or Her Blue Sky. Detective Conan was also in there for the film The Fist of Blue Sapphire, and Lupin III, The First, and One Piece Stampede, all in there also competing with Weathering With You, but all just came up a little bit short. Weathering With You premiered in Japan on the 19th of July last year, and it made about $186 million worldwide. So pretty big success there for Makoto Shinkai. This was Mitsuki, and this was your first anime news break. And now, as always, we're going to get back to the podcast right now. Anime Addicts, the AAA podcast, is always trying to bring you new and exciting ways to enjoy our content, and now we have an exclusive member-only RSS feed on the site that is going to let you access our hentai episodes, our Hobby Addicts, and our After Parties episodes, all from your favorite mobile apps. That's an additional 8 episodes of content per month just for you, and you can listen to it through Apple Podcasts app, you can listen to it through Podcast Addicts, Pocket Cast, Overcast FM, Downcast FM, etc., onward and onward. So many mobile apps for you to choose from. If you were holding back on supporting the podcast because you didn't like listening to our extra content through our website, now you can get it and listen to it the same way you enjoy all your other podcasts. So pitch in, help out the podcast, do a good thing, and enjoy all the extra content we have for you. Just go to aaapodcast.com/join, support the podcast, Merry Christmas, and you will get all this extra content and an exclusive member RSS feed for you to enjoy. That's aaapodcast.com/join, and support the podcast.
My name is Brett Weaver, voice of Toji Suzuhara, from Evangelion. I'm a total anime addict.
welcome back. Man, what a tune that is.
I was going to say, the people constantly ask, Mitz, where can I find these songs? Where can I find these rad tunes?
Just let it roll,
It's a
baby.
secret.
Only here, baby.
It's not a secret. If you email me, I'll send it to
No,
you.
it's a secret.
Oh,
Can't
shit.
tell
All right, well, Mandi has spoken. All right, well, we did have a trivia question here. Fire Force is written by Atsushi Okubo. What else is he the creator of? And the answer is Soul Eater. So,
Eater of souls.
yummy. All right, guys.
The
Well,
souls that Eater eats. I'm thinking like a Kuroko no Basket deal.
oh, you and your Kuroko no Basket.
It's so funny. Like anytime I see like a name that is like something knows something, I'm always like, ah, yes, the basketball which Kuroko plays.
All right, well, it's time for Mandi's Manga Minute. Are you ready, Mandi?
Yes.
And now, let's take a minute for the Manga Minute with Mandi.
This is Mandi's Manga Minute, where I take a minute to tell you about a manga and help you find something new to read. And this one is called A Man and His Cat. I'm so excited to do this one, and I wish that my cat was still here with me. But she left me, and that is sad. In the pet shop, he calls home a chubby, homely cat, whiles away the hours listening to coos of delight from potential pet parents. But he knows it's not him they're fussing over. Even as his price drops with each passing day, no one spares the kitty a glance.
No.
And having all but given up on life, the feline dejectedly waits his first birthday when he'll officially be past his sell-by date. So, when an older gentleman comes into the shop and wants to take him home, the kitten himself is shocked. Will the man and the cat find what they're looking for in each other? A Man and His Cat is a slice of life written and illustrated by Umi Sakurai. There are currently only 4 volumes out in Japan, but only 1 is now available in English. It just came out very recently. But you can find it both digitally and in print. And A Man and His Cat, it has a very similar premise to My Roommate is a Cat, but instead of a cat helping a man overcome social anxiety, it's about a cat that keeps this older gentleman company, and because he's all alone. And our human protagonist, Mr. Konda, is living alone. His wife has just passed away, and he purchases a kitten on a whim. And the cat is shocked that anyone would even bother buying him because he's just been passed over for a year, and he's nervous that the man may change his mind. But we get to see that relationship between the two grow through events that will ring true for pet owners, especially cat owners. And like, for example, Mr. Konda he thinks that this cat, even though it's like a really chubby cat that everyone says is ugly, he thinks he's just the cutest thing in the world. And he fills his phone up with pictures of this cat and like trying to get the best selfie with him. And the cat is jealous of this giant glossy object that takes up all Mr. Konda's attention. It's a piano. So he attacks the piano. And it's just an absolute pleasure to read, especially if you have or if you currently own or have owned a pet. And I'm just a big fan of these series that illustrate the joys of being a pet caregiver. And I definitely recommend it to fans of My Roommate is a Cat and Cheese Sweet Home. And just look how cute this giant little fat cat is when he cries. It's so cute. Guys, I love this manga and I need more.
For those of you listening, I can't express how chubby and fluffy this cat appears to be. It is
He's so
immense.
big. He is giving Yanko Sensei a run for his money.
It's as if he actually ate lasagna every single day. This is a big boy.
Oh, he's so cute. I would buy this cat.
God, lasagna sounds good right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I could dig it.
I mean, I just
I
say
haven't
to
had lasagna in a while.
it's a time-consuming dish to prepare, but it's worth it. I just say to string cheese, and I'm telling you right now, it's nowhere near as good. Oh yeah, it's a little fluffer noodle right there.
I love
it.
I love this chapter. Mr. Konda gets so excited because the cat came to sleep with him. He's like, oh, I came to sleep with him, and he ends up taking up the entire like half of the bed. I'm like, I relate to this.
That cat looks like it's half Tanuki with like how it just like splays itself out.
Yeah, it does.
All right, well, the waifu wars, I thought they were done, but apparently the war still rages. Is this correct?
We'll have a couple more episodes, I think.
All right.
I originally was going to have a different segment, but it kind of got co-opted. So I'm going to do a different segment in the future. So time is running out, people. So if you have some you want to see, let me know. But let's get to this.
All right, the war is still raging.
In the game of waifus, you either win or you are late to anime school. Cake will be thrown, ice cold tea will be served. Who will be top in the class and who will be flunked in Mason's Waifu Wars?
So coming into March, I thought that besides being the glorious honor of being home to Pi Day, March is best represented by
Oh, shit.
housing St. Patrick's Day, which is held annually on March 17th. And so I was like, oh, I'll just do a bunch of my favorite Irish characters in anime. There's not many of them. You got Ku Tulane from the Fate series. I've never seen it. You've got like Lagark, like a side character from Black Lagoon. You got like Ireland from Hitalia. I haven't really seen that. You have Celti from Durarara, which is close, but I've often said that I think she's a little overrated and just wanted to stick the thorn in a little bit more. I was like, oh, maybe there's like some side character in like Kantai Collection or Azur Lane or Arpeggio Blue Steel, like any of those weird like ship-based games. Maybe there's an Irish character there. Not really, no. So I kind of gave up on like an Irish character. Well, I'm like, oh, well, what traits are like Irish? And I was like, oh, well, maybe just green hair, like just for that day. And I was like, well, green-haired characters, they're either kind of like not really quite green, like Spike from Bebop. He's got green hair, but it's not really. And you have like Cece from Code Geass and Tatsumaki from One Punch Man, but those aren't waifus like within their shows, so that's not going to work. So I'm like, oh, how about traits of the Irish? You got potatoes, but I already did Sasha from Attack on Titan, so that won't work. It's like, well, maybe red hair, but this is just going down the wrong road. I was thinking Anna Green Gables, but she's Canadian. She's not even Irish. So I was like, no, what? Scrap the theme. Can't be done. It's impossible. So what's a topical theme? The super not depressing COVID-19 virus. That'll be going around. So with that in mind, go wash your hands right now and come back, because this month the waifu will all be germ girls. So these are all characters from shows that deal with germs. And what better to start off than with a show from the same studio that did Fire Force, David Production. Somewhat surprise hit from 2018, which was actually one of the most popular shows from that summer season, Cells at Work, which was a fun little romp. It kind of was inspired by Osmosis Jones, and it like took these anthropomorphized cells and kind of showed how they respond to events in the human body, such as food poisoning, heat stress, and pneumonia. So you could either watch the show as like lighthearted learning material, or just disregard everything and enjoy like a Monster of the Week format. I think we did a full review of this back on episode 463, but I wasn't around then, so I'm going to give you now the review that really matters. The wife from the show, obviously. So obviously the platelets get all the...
Well, you were going to give a review.
And he's gone.
Yeah, it was going to be a great review, and then Mason...
Topical. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Great review. Anyway, so there's a plethora of quality waifus to be found. You have the macrophage, you have the eosinophil, you have the regulatory T cells, all classics, all waifus. And believe me, if you've seen the show, it makes sense. I'm not crazy. But the waifu that clearly comes out on top is the NK cells. So natural killer cells, or NK cells, are a type of cytotoxic lymphocyte critical to the innate immune system. The role of NK cells play and analogous to that of cytotoxic T cells in the vertebrate adaptive immune response. NK cells provide rapid response to viral infected cells, acting around 3 days after infection and respond to tumor formation. They were named natural killers, quote unquote, because of the initial notion that they do not require activation to kill cells that are missing, quote unquote, self markers of MHC class 1. This role is especially important because harmful cells that are missing MHC markers cannot be detected or destroyed by other immune cells, such as T lymphocyte cells. AKA, what that
is
means
happening?
Is she's a buff machete-wielding badass whose confident, brash personality is backed up by immense competency in protecting the body from all sorts of serious threats that other, like the killer T cells, are unable to fight against. powered by my terrible jokes. NK cells prove that laughter is the best medicine, and we'd make a grand team that eliminates the worst that the world throws at us. Yeah, she's super adorable and a badass and the best cell from Cells at Work. And yeah, that's all you need to know.
Wow. You know, I had a thought for an Irish character, but he's not Irish. But but have you seen the dub of Yu Yu Hakusho? Because there's a guy, there's the tornado guy. You remember him with the red hair, with the horn, and he's always talking like, "Oh, you gotta mesh it," and the wind goes boom and bang and stuff. It's how he always talks. Every time he talks, you don't understand what he's saying because it's so. It's like you have to. I guess you have to go back and watch the dub of Yu Yu Hakusho, but it is bizarre. It is bizarre that voice exists in Yu Yu Hakusho. I don't know what they were thinking. And then on the same team, there's an Australian guy who literally sounds and talks with all of the sort of stereotypes of an Australian person, complete with talking about things on the Barbie and drinking a lot. So.
I feel like they do that a lot with dubs to give
It's
some
bizarre.
different sounds of voices.
Yeah. Well, the Irish guy, when he talks, you understand what he's saying, but you don't understand what he means. Like, he uses words like, "Oh, Yodameshi blew that blast into a big open space and woo and bang and stuff." That's exactly how he sounds. Anyway, now that I've frightened every single listener.
I think there's also Father Anderson and Helsing. Not
Yeah.
much of a waifu.
I was about to say great waifu.
All right. Well, Icy Rose suggested a good topic. We were thinking, we really need a topic to. Oh shit! Wow. There we go. We were thinking, wow, we need a topic to do for this week, and we weren't really sure what to do. And so Icy Rose came to the rescue, and he said, well, why not do a topic where you talk about the 7 basic plots in story writing, and then come up with some anime that you think best represent these stories, these story types. And, and so we did that. And so there's a bunch of these. There's 7 different. Actually, you know what, Mason, I have you marked down to lead this discussion. So why don't you do it?
Okay, well, sure. So these 7 basic plots are from a book called The 7 Basic Plots: Why We Tell Stories. It's a 2004 book by Christopher Booker, which is very funny. And essentially it is a collection of, paring down all of fiction into 7 basic types of plots and kind of showing how every story kind of can conform to one of those. And it's mainly focused on the main character and how they grow or change or develop or what have you, and self-realized throughout the work. So we'll go through all 7 of them and kind of give our stab at what we think represents this proposed plot very well. And I don't think this is quote unquote the best way to analyze works, but I think it is interesting, and I think we'll get some fun responses out of it.
I had a tough time with some of these. I really didn't know what to write down for a couple of these, so they vary in difficulty. But I'd kind of like to try to maybe come to an agreement on which one that we proposed best represents each category, if we can.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. So I think we'll just go through, say the name of this plot type, kind of give the brief definition, and then we'll list what we thought came to mind.
This first one, I think, is one of the easier ones, at least for me. It's called Overcoming the Monster. It's when a protagonist sets out to defeat a bad guy, basically, who's often evil, which threatens the protagonist and or his or her homeland. So right off the bat, I thought of Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind, because they're literally attacking the valley. And seemed like a good one. But like, there were just a ton of these that I thought could fit into this category. And I see that we all have a lot of suggestions. But and then there's like Evangelion, because they're literally attacking Tokyo, the angels. And Arslan Senki is, a foreign army comes in and conquers the land and supplants Arslan to, the outskirts of the country or whatever. But what do you guys think?
It's interesting that you put Evangelion, because assuming that Shinji is the main character, I mean, yes, he is going out and attacking or trying to, attack the aliens that are attacking Earth. But it seems like that's not like his struggle so much.
Well, listen, I don't claim to be an expert on any of these, so
No,
some of these are
that's
not
why
going to be right.
That's why we're just going to talk. We're just going to workshop it and see who had stuff. So my examples, for example, were Gurren Lagann, very similarly Kill la Kill, and like Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Those were all very much a attack directly what is evil in the world.
The ones that I put down for this were Demon Slayer. We've already reviewed that. It's basically Tanjiro has to go out and kill. He's on a very specific, like, I have to go kill this guy in order to get the cure for my sister. And then there's Monster, where main character. It's funny that it's called Overcoming the Monster.
Fair enough.
Think
Yeah.
about it. And his whole like job is to go out specifically to kill this monster, hunt him down, and prevent him from killing more people. And then I also put down Vampire Hunter D, because D's whole thing is that he is hired to go kill vampires, being a Dhampir, and that's his whole driving force throughout that series. So I don't know.
Do you guys?
I think Monster is the perfect example.
I think
Because it's in the name.
A good example, but I don't think like Dr. Tenma's like way of life or anything is being attacked or threatened.
I wondered about that as well, because it's been a while since I've seen the meaty parts of Monster, but as I recall, Johan doesn't really give a damn about Dr. Tenma, does he? He's Dr. Tenma's more pursuing him.
Yeah.
To right a wrong that he feels like he created by saving his life, right?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely close, but if we're going by the
Johan
letter of the law,
screws a lot of people up in that series.
He's a bad dude. I like Nausicaa as the example. It's very much defend the homeland, and I feel like we're gonna have a lot of Ghibli in here, because I feel like it's.
I tried to put one Ghibli for every category, just so people have like some, even people who haven't perhaps seen a ton of anime have some reference of where do those movies fit in. I don't know. I was proud of Gurren Lagann. I think that one's very fitting.
So I haven't seen Gurren Lagann in like 20 years. What is the main crux of that anime? Like who's the villain attacking who?
Well, you get the first arc where you have Lord Genome attacking their cities and bases, and they fight off against him, and then you have the cosmos themselves fighting against the whole evolution of humanity, and they have to fight off against that. So it's constantly them fighting against a overwhelmingly stronger force for their right to remain in existence.
Okay, yeah, that seems vaguely familiar. Well,
I think there's all good examples here.
I like the Princess Mononoke example. Especially if you're thinking about it from the perspective of the forest, and because that.
Agreed, and I like that, but I don't know if that's really, like, our main character, who is Prince Ashitaka, is not really out to defeat anyone. He's kind of an observer. He goes out to explore the source of the curse that's happening, but he's never out there to kill an enemy or defeat an opponent in the same way. He kind of passively observes the struggle between man and nature. But
doesn't he sort of like shift during that movie, where he starts off as trying to find a solution to the curse that he has, but then inevitably he sees that these people are destroying the forest and there's bad things happening, and then he inevitably
but they're not evil.
Well, no, I guess they're not, but the definition also doesn't say they necessarily are evil. It says often evil, so they don't have to be evil. True. But I don't know. I guess maybe Ashitaka is more or less a mediator, maybe, between the two groups, between humankind and nature.
Yeah, and that's similar to Nausicaa in a sense. But I would think between the two, Nausicaa is a better example.
Could be, yeah.
But I'm sticking to my guns. I think Gurren Lagann wins.
I think Nausicaa, damn it.
There's no right answer.
What about something like Vampire Hunter D, where he is hired to go kill a specific monster? That's the entire point of the whole movie, is for him to go and save this woman and kill the bad guy.
See, I read the definition as like you are playing defense, like you're defending something precious to you or defending yourself from an evil. That's how I
Hunter
read
is the
it.
monster. He is the one the monsters fear.
So I guess if the monsters were attacking D, then that fits the definition more directly. I guess that's why I put Evangelion, because it's like,
Well, it says protagonist homeland. So that would include not just himself.
well, trickiness. See, I think this is probably like the broadest. This is like one of the broadest categories, because I couldn't. God, there's a ton of stuff. Like there's a ton of anime that fit into this group, and really some of them are so simple that it's impossible to say which one is more direct than the other, because there are going to be anime where it's like this villain is literally attacking non-villain's house, so to speak, and then another one where it's like villain is the exact same thing. So it's like you could even say like even like Stelvia of the Universe is about like humankind defending their sort of homeland against, an invading force, even though it's more like them trying to defend against like the debris of a supernova, for most of that. So
I mean, I originally had Dragon Ball written here, but I figured you would want that, so I deleted it.
Oh, you saved it for me?
I did.
Well, yeah, I mean, crap. I mean, name a shonen. I mean, they probably all fit. So we already have a bunch of shonen in here.
And that's where Mandi's Demon Slayer was a good example as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to some of these we probably won't come to a consensus because it's impossible.
No, and there is no right answer, obviously.
Yeah, that's probably not the point. Anyway, yeah. Okay, you guys want to move on?
Yeah, the next one is rags to riches. The definition is the poor protagonist acquires power, wealth, and or a mate, and loses it all and gains it all back, growing as a person as a result.
Yeah, I had a harder time with this one. I inevitably came up with some stuff, but it was harder. What do you guys think?
First one that I thought of was, well, people are going to argue it's not anime, it was King's Avatar, where a very famous esports player is kicked off of his team, loses everything, his character, and has to build back up from the bottom. But also, he's already an esports player, so he's also already a better player than most people that he comes across. But I guess that is an example of him like having to start over and making his own esports team, building up from there. And then I had Aslan Senki and Yonadon on there, and they both have very similar kind of plots where it's a prince or princess in like a very wealthy kingdom. Their fathers die and then they get kicked out and lose everything, and then they have to build up from there in order to try and gain back what they lost. And then I had Shida Yukihime on there, but although I put a question mark next to it because I'm not sure, but she was working as an herbalist and then caught the attention of a prince who wanted to, because of her red hair, wanted her to become his concubine. So then she leaves that kingdom, loses everything, goes to a different kingdom, and from there she starts working with the prince of that kingdom, and who she builds a friendship with, and later on romance, and wants to become the court's herbalist. So there was that. And then I also had Parasite on there, but I'm not sure because that one, I put that on the list because the main protagonist there, gains power through Miki. Eventually, I don't know, some of these have spoilers, but eventually he does lose Miki and learns from that whole entire experience. So I don't know.
Yeah, I had Princess Tutu is one of them, Steins Gate, and Kiki's Delivery Service.
Ooh.
I think Kiki's because I think the big key of this one is, the time that they lose their power or whatever is, that experience is what makes them grow as a person, which is why King's Avatar, for example, is a great show and you should watch it. I don't know if that quite qualifies because he kind of doesn't change as a person because he's always just plows through and is a solid character the whole time.
I guess he learns a little bit more teamwork, though. But yeah, he is still,
a little bit, but he's just
overpowered.
a great steamroller. Just still watch the show; it's a ton of fun. But Princess Tutu and Steins Gate both kind of have, the that sine arc of the gain of power, the loss, the despair of something, and then getting it back. And you see a lot of character growth across the board with those. So once again, I also had trouble with this one. I don't think any of these perfectly capture what I was looking for, but I think they're close enough.
I think Mitz has a really good one.
I almost agree with you, but Mitz, what do you got?
All right. Well, first of all, I think sports often fit this mold real well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I literally just like at the end I wrote like a lot of sports anime, because a lot of these sports shows start off with like a child with aspirations of being a pro athlete, or a pro athlete who's not any good and ends up being good. But like there's a ton of anime, there's a ton of stuff like that. Like Hajime no Ippo. Ippo goes from being nothing to being like the champion or whatever. You know, I put Megalobox. Megalobox, he's literally like a junk dog or whatever they call him, and then he ends up being like, you know, he rises up through the ranks. You know, Major, he's a little kid who wants to be a pro player, and then eventually, you know, he pursues his dreams. Like a lot of these sports anime follow this, but I think most targeted towards the definition of this, there's a character in the 12 Kingdoms that I think fits this mold flawlessly, actually. And there's some spoilers here for 12 Kingdoms, but honestly, you should just watch it anyway because it's great. There's a character named Shoke, and there's different arcs in 12 Kingdoms, and I think this is the third arc. But Shoke is this, I guess in the books it's the fourth book, but Shoke is this princess of this kingdom called Ho, who has a father who's super tyrannical, and he's so terrible that he executes like 1 million people during his reign, and he's totally evil. And the people rise up and they go and they literally kill him. And they choose, rather than killing the princess, they send her to live in like abject poverty, and to like she'd rather die than be poor or whatever. And so they give her like the worst thing she could have, which is being poor. And then so she, throughout the course of a very long book, I think it's like almost 500 pages, and you know, that arc of the manga or the anime ends up meeting up with the Queen of K, and ends up being like a member of the queen's court. And so she literally goes from being like princess, gorgeous, ornaments in her hair, everything she ever wanted, to literally like groveling in mud, and then rises back up to the point where she's like, I think I'm reading a wiki right here, I couldn't remember what her position was, but like a scribe, the royal scribe in the court of the queen. So she literally goes from like being everything to absolutely dirt to back to being like back in the court again. And I think that kind of like really, really fits.
I think in a way, wouldn't even Yoko like kind of qualify?
Yeah.
Like she lived like as a normal high school girl. I guess that's not gaining power at the beginning, but she was in a like, then she ended up in a worse place when she was not doing well, fighting through just hordes of enemies, and eventually became a queen. So
yeah, I guess like Yoko would have been living as like a ronka, one of those like egg fruits on a tree, which is like, she's basically like, you know, adored and worshipped essentially by the people in the whatever the Mount Ho or whatever the hell the mountain's called. And would get swept away to Earth, which is not such a bad place. But then she ends up back in the 12 Kingdoms, and she's like starving to death and being gnawed on by animals and shit.
Yeah.
Which is pretty bad.
In the book, her fights with those monsters are like goes on for so long. It just like talks about she's constantly fighting, covered in blood, just a mess.
It's like
oh god.
I feel like she starves to death for like 40 pages in that book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. And Suzu also, because like Suzu goes from being like an immortal person who's working under like a really abusive sort of like can't remember what her position is, like a countess or something, and then she leaves and ends up being like dirt, and then, you know, so there's a lot of that in the 12 Kingdoms. So it's a really good series, but man, it's not very happy. Not a lot of happy things happening. So
they become happy eventually.
Yeah, eventually they get there, but damn, life sucks.
But it's okay, because Rakushun is a adorable little rat boy.
Rakushun, I mean, even him, like, he goes from being a rat, like, living in, like, you know, a straw house to being, you know, in the court. So he fits that. So maybe it's like everybody. So I guess I'll just stick with that example. I think that's a great example of rags to
Yeah,
riches.
I do too. I agree.
I guess I'll allow it. Let's move on. The
Mason
Mason
quest.
just wants all of
Mason's
his
like-
to be one of his picks.
I'm
That's
just
all.
saying she started in power. She didn't start in poverty. Anyway, the quest. The definition: the protagonist and companion set out to acquire an important object, or to get to a location. They face temptations or other obstacles along the way. I think this was probably the easiest one to assign stuff to. I had stuff like Golden Kamui, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Katanagatari, Run with the Wind, Made in Abyss, and if we're going with the Ghibli version, Castle in the Sky. Those are all journeys that they go on with all sorts of haphazard things that occur that they've got to overcome, and I had no problem selecting a bunch for this one.
Mandy, you wrote a lot here.
I did, but I mean, do people really want me to talk about Hunter x Hunter anymore?
Yes, they probably
No, but
do.
we're gonna do it regardless, so send it.
No, I put down first Fishiga Yogi, A Place for in the Universe, and Samurai Champloo. And then when I was thinking about it, I was like, I was going to put down Gon, like Hunter x Hunter, because of Gon's quest to find his dad. But then as I started thinking about it, there's so many main characters in Hunter x Hunter. And I thought it was really interesting. They all fall into like a different plot archetype. I was like, Gon's quest to find his dad, and then like Killua's rebirth, which is another one down the list, from like a cold assassin to having more appreciation for life, and Kurapika's drive to put an end to the Phantom Troop, I guess, could fall under like overcoming the monster. And then like Leorio, there's another one later on, but he obtains a hunter's license, like goes out on this quest to obtain a hunter's license, and then brings back all of his experience, become a doctor. And then I don't know if I should mention the other one because it's spoilers for manga. Like Hisoka falls under like the tragedy category, I think. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting, and it was just me talking more about Hunter x Hunter.
Well,
Sorry.
Hunter x Hunter is pretty great. So this one was not that hard for me. I mean, there's a lot of anime where someone is going to like they're traveling to a place or they're trying to find something, and I was like, wow, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, it's perfect. Like they're literally trying to go to Egypt or whatever, or they're trying to make their way to Dio or whatnot. The whole damn series is a journey through Egypt, where they are facing temptations and obstacles along the way. It's literally the exact definition.
Yep.
But like I was like, it's a cool example, but it's a little too easy. So I threw like Last Exile in there. They're trying to find what the hell is it in that? They're not the ley line. That's Outlaw Star, which is another example I put. But I don't know. They're trying to find oh my God, help me out, someone. God, give me the answer.
I've never seen Last Exile. I can't help
It's
you.
been
I'm
a
sorry.
while. It's been a long time since I've seen that. Hang on.
Someone in the chat will answer it. But there's like a place that's hidden behind a huge storm or a wind thing that they can't normally fly through, and so they're looking for it. The Grand Stream. There, AC Rose always knows the answer. The Grand Stream. That's what it's called. So, and then like an Outlaw Star. I watched some Outlaw Star recently, and I love it. It's just so good. But they're looking for like the intergalactic ley line. So I don't know. There's a ton of these. Like it's not that. It was an easy one.
I think we all had good answers. There's no wrong ones here.
Yeah. Well, I like Stardust Crusader. I really didn't like Stardust Crusaders much.
I like Stardust Crusaders. Actually, I didn't really like it.
Immediately turns the heel.
Immediately turns.
Well, I like it.
To be fair, part 5 is a quest. Part 7 is a quest. Like most, you can choose other JoJos that aren't Stardust Crusaders. They're just not adapted yet.
Well, I mean, like I like the JoJo one as an example of this type of storytelling, but I just don't like I don't like weekly shows. Like I don't like Monster of the Week stuff. I just never did. I never do. So it was long. It was like the longest Monster of the Week ever. Did we all give our examples for this one?
We did. We can move right along.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the next one's mine here. Voyage and Return. There's an obvious one here that, and I'm just going to delete it off. I put it too. I'm going to delete it off my list. But there's an obvious one here that I think is clearly the best. The definition of Voyage and Return is A protagonist goes to a strange land, and after overcoming the threats it poses or learning important lessons that are unique to that place, they come back and they're more experienced and better people, stronger, etc. So, and this is like, it just screams isekai. It really does. But
they ever
never
come back?
That's what I was about to say. They never return.
I was gonna say they don't, but like a lot of times it's like, oh, the slime anime, great, or whatever. But they don't ever seem to come back from where they went. I guess it's because Truck-kun ran them over or stabbed them to death.
They're all dead.
I guess he actually comes back in Sword Art Online. He just dives back in. So,
but there is an example of this, of an isekai where this happens, and it is one of my favorite anime, and it's now and then here and there. It's not I've said it before. It's not an anime for the faint of heart. It's a lot of a lot of just really brutal shit in this anime. It's a very unhappy anime. But at the end of it, what's the spoilers? At the end of it, I can't do it. It's a great example of this, because the main character goes to this land and he does like learn a lot of stuff, So. And then I put the cat returns. Maybe that's my Ghibli example, because she does sort of go to the cat world, and has experiences or whatever, and then she comes back, and it seems like after that whole journey, that movie, she's kind of a better, tougher person. And then I threw my old favorite in there from like ages ago, the Mujin Wakusei Survive. It's about anime about those like middle school kids or whatever that get stranded on a hostile alien planet, and there's like animals and plant life trying to kill them and all this, and they sure learn a hell of a lot about things while they're there, I would say. So, but I think honestly, I think Mason's got the best example of this. So I'm gonna let Mason go here.
Oh, well, that's only because I put it in first. So I think everyone thought about this one.
Maybe.
So I guess working up to it, I had Sakura Quest. That was one of them. Hisune Tomaso-tan was kind of a weird one, but kind of similar. Aka 13, in the sense that the guy travels back and forth and doesn't learn about like himself, but just the places he's visiting. I thought the 12 Kingdoms also fit this as well. Some certain arcs of isekai and just learning from it, but obviously the big one is Spirited Away. Is the easy answer. Yeah, and it pretty much fits it to a T.
My first one was Hanasaku Iroha, because Ohana has to go out to this hot spring that her grandmother runs, and then learns a lot about herself when she eventually goes back home. Well, kind of home.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of funny, because that's similar in a sense to Sakura Quest, but probably even more so like in the return and development experience. So I definitely agree.
I put down Pokemon, because after each arc of Ash going out on this journey, specifically the anime, goes out on this journey, there's always at the end he comes back home. And I remember the first arc. I still remember how much I love the episode where he comes home, they all have that giant party, and like all the people that he's met like along the journey are there, and they're having this. And then of course Team Rocket comes in, and what was it, they put like hot sauce or something inside of the
it's so silly.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Never
I think it was takoyaki, but in they're like the meatballs, special meatballs, in the dub.
Yeah.
Where like onigiri was like jelly donuts and shit. But and then they all had to fight Team Rocket while they're spewing out fire. But no, I thought Pokemon was a good example of that. He always comes back and learns something on that journey. And I put down, I don't know, it's different, because Mushishi and Kino's journey, I wouldn't say they have a home that they always return to, but they do always go back to some place, and they learn so much on this journey about just everyone that they meet and all of their experiences. And so whenever they do come back to a place, they at least have learned something along the way. But I don't know, that one is a little bit different, because they don't really have like a home base that they always like come back to. And I wasn't sure about Shinsekai Yori. I wasn't sure about that one.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't qualify at the end.
I don't know. Props to Ash, going on so many Pokemon adventures, but still being the worst Pokemon trainer of all time.
He has won. He has finally won the Pokemon League.
It only took him 84 years.
I watched that remake movie or whatever the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the CG one of the original movie, and it was
Okay.
it was pretty good. It's the one where like Mewtwo is mad because he's like, oh, humans made me and I'm all grumpy, and then he has all the trainers go to the island and then Mewtwo wants to like steal all their Pokemon. It was
Where did you watch it?
It was on Netflix.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was
Is
pretty
that
good.
the one where Mewtwo just drops truth bombs throughout the entire thing? Just like, yeah, good life lessons.
He's just like the most emo Pokemon of all time in that movie.
Super edgelord.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. And I gotta say, I think Spirited Away is the best example of this. There's even a line right at the end of the movie that I think seals it, and it's where they're like, the mom's like, Chihiro, we're going to a new place. This is after she comes back from the spirit world, and the mom's like, Chihiro, we're going to a new place. It's gonna be pretty scary or whatever. And then Chihiro just says, I think I can handle it. And like beforehand, she's like this crying, sniveling girl, like she's literally crying about everything, and then at the end, she's like this badass.
Yeah.
It's
pretty good.
God, what a great movie. I can't wait to go to that concert in London with Shohei Hisaishi. Over under me crying 5 times during the concert. What do you think?
Over.
I mean, if you just are continuously crying, is that one cry or is
I don't
that a
know.
lot?
I cried like 3 times during the Totoro movie in theaters the other day. It was pretty interesting to see. I think we're done with this one. You want to move on?
Yeah, we can keep on
yeah.
going.
Yeah, the next one is comedy, and the definition is a light and humorous character with a happy or tearful ending, a dramatic work in which the central motif is the triumph over adverse circumstances, resulting in a successful or happy conclusion. Comedy is more than just humor, and it refers to a pattern where the conflict becomes more and more confusing, but is at last made plain in a single clarifying event. The majority of romance films fall into this category.
I struggled with this one. I struggle because it's like I want to comedy's ha ha ha, but like that's not really the definition of comedy. But we think it is. And I was like, I struggled. It was hard.
I was like, the conflict becomes more and more confusing as time goes on, but has a happy conclusion. Gintama, what? Talk about extremely confusing, and then at the end you're like, oh, I get what they're going for now.
Yeah, light and humorous characters. That's a pretty good one. I had for the Ghibli example, I had both like Ponyo and Totoro. Those are both pretty light movies with stuff that kind of gets out of hand, but it all cleans up in the end. As far as actual half ones that are also haha funny, Sakamoto Desuka has a lot of like weird things that spiral out of control, but Sakamoto always makes things right at the end. You got Hinamatsuri, and one that also is a romance, Arakawa Under the Bridge is a great example of funny romance, and just things get wild and things get weird, but it's never so serious that you can't
Yeah. Similar to that, I put down Daily Lives of High School Boys. There's some crazy stuff in there too.
I really only had one example that I thought was really good, and it's Tokyo Godfathers.
That's a good one.
It's a lot of chaos in that movie, and they, that are conflict based, and they ultimately sort of get their shit together, and it's funny. So, but I really had a tough time. I didn't want to just write down a comedy because it just didn't seem like it fit the definition very well. I was like, otherwise I would have just put Golden Boy because I'm obsessed with it. But, I don't know. But I liked Tokyo Godfathers. I also put Clannad, the first season, because it's like a 3-arc show, and each arc has a problem that gets solved, and it's also a funny show, I guess, at least for the first half. And then
It is funny. You see how big their eyes are? That's a joke and a half.
oh damn,
Low hanging fruit. I had to. Sorry.
actually, probably this drop is better.
Mason.
There we go. I don't know what's the best example, guys. It's not. I don't think it's mine. What do you guys think?
It's Gintama, of course.
Gintama is always the answer. So, Mandi, I gotta ask now. Gintama, in your mind, Gintama and Hunter x Hunter are having this like epic tug of war battle.
Are they?
I don't know. It seems like it.
Gintama's nowhere near Hunter x Hunter for me.
Oh shit!
As much as I like Gintama, it's not up there.
Oh shit!
As much as she likes Gintama, she hasn't gone and read all the material. I mean, to be
Yeah.
fair, she hasn't finished it, so she might get there. But no, I think Hunter x Hunter will
Hunter x
always
Hunter
take
has
that
taken
top spot.
over my life. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Gintama doesn't have cells available, but if it did, I definitely wouldn't have like 4 Gintama cells right now.
On order.
Yeah, I'm gonna start looking around to frame
Still got
that.
a couple hundred episodes to go. Don't
That's
count it
true.
out yet. But
Yeah. I still gotta frame that Golden Boy cell I bought. I don't want to let it sit around for too long unframed.
I still need to frame my Killua and Gon one.
Yeah, the good ones, they deserve to be framed, of course. All right, last one. Oh, there's 2 more. Okay.
second to last, we have
Yep.
Tragedy, the opposed comedy. The protagonist is a hero with a major character flaw or great mistake, which ultimately is their undoing. Their unfortunate end evokes pity at their folly and the fall of a fundamentally good character. I think the last couple words are an important point that I had struggled with because, a lot of times a good character we don't see fail often in anime. So my examples were Death Note, Flowers of Evil, though one could say they're not fundamentally good characters, just go either way, and Grave of the Fireflies for the Ghibli example.
I literally punted on this for real, but I think Mandi has, from my opinion, I think Mandi has the best example. But I punted. I was like tragedy in anime, like there's a lot of characters. I mean, first of all, not a lot of characters in anime that matter die. It seems like, and then a lot of them, when they do, they're not necessarily like tragic deaths. I struggled, but I think Mandi nailed it. Go ahead, Mandi.
My first one was Gon Kutsuo for the Count of Monte Cristo, because man, this category kind of has spoilers for people who haven't seen these. Be warned, they die. But yeah, the Count of Monte Cristo, because he wasn't really like, he starts off as just not a really bad guy, but over time, like his drive for revenge got the best of him and ultimately was his downfall. And I also put down Rakugo Shinju for Yakumo. I was thinking, man, this one I kind of struggled with Yakumo, because I was thinking like his entire life revolved around Rakugo and his love for his friend Sukeroko. I can't remember how you say it.
I think it's Skeroku.
Skeroku, yeah. And he was never able to get over the guilt of his death. And I think at that last scene in the man, these are massive spoiler warnings. I'm so sorry, guys.
Massive spoilers.
In that last scene where he does finally die in the theater where it burns down, I would say that that's kind of like his inability to overcome his friend's death is what ultimately led to his downfall. But he was still like an older man. But I don't know. That one I kind of struggled with. That was a very tragic show, though.
Go ahead, Mitz.
I think the Rakugo Shinju example is the best one.
I agree. I think it's similar to Mandy's point about Hunter x Hunter, where there's really so many main characters that fall under different aspects of these plots that you could single one character out, and as much as this character had a tragedy, this other quote-unquote main character didn't. So I think, like you said, it's a good answer.
Yeah, I like that one. That was good. The last one is Rebirth. I found this one to be one of the easier ones. There's a lot of these, I think. It's where an event forces the main character to change their ways and often become a better person. And I was like, it just dove at me. Like I was like, Rurouni Kenshin, like just dove at me like hardcore, because the whole show is about him trying to redeem himself for being like this mass murderer, basically, during the the wars that precede the Rurouni Kenshin series. And that's like his whole damn character. That's why he attacks backwards with his sword. It's why he's trying to help people, why he won't kill anybody. Some of the tougher example, like Haibane Renmei is a show that not a lot of people have seen, but I'm pretty sure that anime is a, what is the word, an allegory? I don't know what the term is. They're basically in purgatory in that anime, and I'm pretty sure they give it away towards the end, where the one girl was like, God, I don't want to give spoilers. This is tough. But like they're in purgatory basically, and they're all there to redeem themselves, I think. So that's a Haibane Renmei is a damn good anime, by the way. Trigun is a lot like Rurouni Kenshin. He's kind of like going on this like redemption quest. And then I threw Tokyo Godfathers in there again because there's a lot of characters in that show that have had bad past lives. Like the one girl runs away from her family because she's like a runaway, and the guy is like a gambler or something, so he like runs away from his family, and then at the end they like reunite, and so Tokyo Godfathers is a lot of redemption going on in there. So I think I like the Tokyo Godfathers and the Rurouni Kenshin examples the best.
Yeah, Rurouni Kenshin's a good one. My examples were Suritama, a little more lighthearted version of it. Kisniver, Anohana, and Fulikuli were all ones where we get a pretty drastic character change from an event.
Yeah, I this one I didn't have any problems with. Like I could think of loads of examples of these.
Mhm.
Maybe it's because it's like one of my favorite kind of plot lines in anime. I don't know, but there was like my roommate is a cat, Barakamon, Welcome to the NHK, where these people started off as not great, but through events throughout the series, they become better people through either a cat or meeting a little girl, or Welcome to the NHK meeting a slightly older little girl.
I will say though, in terms of tone, Welcome to the NHK is nothing
lot
like
different.
Barakamon or Cat or
Yeah.
any of those.
Yeah, it's not a happy series, guys.
No.
But then I also had Colorful on there. If you haven't seen that movie, massive spoiler warning here. But the main character at the end throughout the series is trying to figure out what happened to him, and he learns that he actually killed himself, and that was his big mistake, is how he treated his family, and committed suicide at the end. And then he is actually reborn after that, after learning from his mistake from a character and in the story. And then I also had Natsume, although this one's not as I guess not as dramatic, because Natsume wasn't really a bad person at the beginning. He just had a lot of trust issues, and like he was very lonely. But over the events in the story or in the show, he meets so many new people, and he starts to learn how to accept kindness from other people and friendship, and learning how to just trust those around him, especially his adopted family.
Yeah. I think they're all good examples. Rurouni,
Yeah.
Fulikuli, and a lot of the ones Mandi mentioned. And I feel like all of these shows, for the most part, we would recommend to watch. So if any of these like styles seemed fitting for you, or you're like, oh, I liked a bunch of the other ones we listed in that genre, check these out. These are all good works.
Sorry for the slight spoiler with. Well, I guess it's not slight. I'm so sorry.
Big yikes.
I know, but there's no way for me to
Redacted.
talk about it. Okay, look, you should still watch Colorful. I really enjoyed that movie.
Shit, it's really pretty. Yeah. So Mandy, would you say, and same question to you, Mitz, what is your favorite of these 7? If you, not what shows are your favorite within it, but if you had to watch a work, what would be the one that you look for?
Rebirth. There's no question about it. That's like one of my favorite kind of plot lines.
For me, it's probably Overcoming the Monster. I like it a lot, but I also like Rags to Riches a lot. So, but I think it's because I like shonen. Shonen and sports are probably my two favorite genres of anime, and I think shonen closely aligns with the monster one, and then sports closely aligns with Rags to Riches. So that's probably why.
I kind of also like the Voyage and Return one.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking between that or like The Quest. Those are two very similar, of like a clear objective, and like I always like returning from a place that you haven't been in a while to really see how much growth has occurred.
I think I really like Rebirth so much because I like just I don't know, it's really cathartic to see somebody who has like the same maybe flaws that you have as a person, and then seeing how they overcome it and become better people at the end is just so satisfying for me. So, I don't know. I think that's my favorite.
Watching people improve is the most Kino thing on earth. And with that, do we have anything else?
Negative.
Yep. Is it me? It is
Take
me.
it away.
Alrighty, so we have an in-show trivia question, which we will answer after the break. And it is, in Fire Force, what is another name for the Aldola burst which certain characters possess? We'll answer it after break.
Hey, Anime Addicts, Mitsuki is back, and he's bringing you more anime news. Starting off with some business news, TBS Entertainment, very well liked and popular animation company, has seen a 16% uptick in its animation business in the third fiscal quarter, which was April to December. And as I read this article on Anime News Network, I note that indeed April to December is not a third fiscal quarter, but is rather the final 3 fiscal quarters, indicating that people should proofread. And the company announced that this was probably due to a strong showing from the anime, the quintessential quintuplets, which they have claimed has had pretty much strong video sales throughout the entire period that was previously mentioned. So for those of you that are big fans of quintessential quintuplets, I do believe that there's a sequel coming out pretty soon, and it's going to be probably another big hit for the company. The overall market was actually down 9.3% in the same period from last year, indicating that TBS Entertainment was especially successful amongst its peers. Next up, we're getting back to Makoto Shinkai yet again, as he continues to seemingly always be in the news. And there was an interview that was held with the Mainichi Shimbun's Montan Web on Tuesday, and he said that he is already thinking about his new work. He said, quote, "I've thought about it and I've vaguely figured out the direction, but I've certainly not come to a stage where I can talk about it yet. It's something I've been agonizing over." To which I ponder to myself, well, it's probably roughly the same plotline as before. And of course, Your Name debuted in 2016, Weathering With You debuted in 2019, indicating that probably his next movie might come out sometime around 2022. And he does say that he thinks that if he was able to make a film every 3 years, the audience will be able to keep up without giving up on him, which, is an interesting comment. So look out for more news from this new work that Makoto Shinkai is sort of cooking in his brain in the future. Next up, well, we're going to round this out with coronavirus news because it is absolutely everywhere and unavoidable, including Sonic the Hedgehog, the film, which has already netted about $295 million worldwide, despite still not being out in China or Japan, which are undoubtedly massive markets for Sonic. China is usually almost as big as the United States for a lot of films in terms of gross sales. Of course, they have said that the film has not come out in those countries yet because of the coronavirus, aka COVID-19. So I guess this is because they would rather not have the movie in theaters in a time when people are afraid to leave their houses, and they want to maximize the potential profits of the movie. That is my guess. But you'll be able to look out for more of Sonic the Hedgehog's success news maybe in the future after the coronavirus has died down and they feel comfortable releasing it in those countries. And speaking of coronavirus in Japan, there are some statistics that have come out. Japan not especially hard hit by the coronavirus. There have been quite a few number of active cases. However, the death toll in Japan is pretty low compared to a lot of countries. They've tested 8,200 people and have had 500 confirmations, which in my brain real quickly is something like 6 or 7%. And they've had a total of 57 people have recovered, 7 died, and there are 433 people that are still actively recovering from the virus. So most of this up in Hokkaido and Nagoya, by far the most, the hotbed so to speak, for coronavirus activity. And down in Tokyo, they also have quite a lot of cases, but you have to consider that Tokyo's got 36 million people in it, so if 51 out of 36 million people have coronavirus, that's probably not really all that noteworthy. Anyway, we'll keep you updated on coronavirus as it continues to dominate pretty much all of the news in future news breaks. This is Mitsuki, and this was your anime news break, and now we're going to get back to the podcast right now.
After a tough day at work, I just want to veg out on the internet. I wonder what kind of weird hentai goods JList.com has on sale.
Kazuo, what are you looking at?
Oh, well, this is embarrassing. It was JList.com.
What was that? Go back to it.
Oh, that was an anime boob mouse pad.
Really? Has it come to that, Kazuo?
Hell no, man. I'm keeping it real. But J-List keeps it real too. Real perverted. They've got hyper-realistic boob mouse pads, sexy pillows, naughty calendars and anime figures, and an array of Tenga products.
Did somebody say Tenga?
Good God. Where'd you come from?
That's right, my bald, mid-30-something anime grumpy pants man.
Damn, I love Tenga.
Has it come to that, Mitz?
Hell no, Enzo. I just love to feel the embrace of a Tenga egg when I stretch it over
Whoa. Okay, now.
over my bald head.
I think that's even weirder.
Head over to jlist.com and get yourself set up with some of the finest Japanese adult products.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Glass, voice of Winry from Full Metal Alchemist, and Haruhi from Ouran High School Host Club, and I am an anime addict.
And now, great moments in Anime Addicts Anonymous history.
What is your video game Mount Rushmore? I would say Mega Man. Mega Man deserves to be on this list.
Nowhere near the Mount Rushmore.
Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious.
Are you kidding?
I mean, yes, Mega Man has some great games, but who? Are you kidding me?
Dude,
Mega
you
Man
are out of your mind,
on the
man.
Mount Rushmore?
You're crazy. You're going to put Master Chief that hasn't contributed anything to gaming, and you're going to knock out... And you're going to knock out Mega Man, which basically solidified Capcom as a game company.
And where are they now?
One of the biggest video game companies in the world, responsible for Resident Evil,
when was the
arcade machines.
When was the last?
Oh my God!
When was the last good Resident
Evil?
Evil?
I can't believe it.
Hasn't Capcom stopped making video games?
No, I would argue absolutely 100%, without a doubt, that Sonic the Hedgehog, who basically founded Sega himself, is more important than Master Chief.
And he fell off a cliff just like Mega Man.
But that doesn't matter. He created an entire company. Without Sega, you wouldn't have the Genesis, the Dreamcast.
Who cares about the Dreamcast? That system was...
Dude, Sega Corp is a gigantic company that makes like half of Japan's arcades.
BCom says, where is Sega now?
Making hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. The most successful video game movie ever made. Dude, you're nuts,
What video
man.
games are they making?
They make tons of video... Dude,
What video games?
You're only
What's a big Sega video game right now?
Dude,
What's a big video
I
game?
need you to calm
I'm
down
just
so I
asking you
can
a question.
talk.
I just want to know.
And now, back to the podcast.
That edit was brilliant, Mitch.
I was gonna say that too. It's a nice edit.
I had to do it. I had to. But
Just rub salt all in that wound.
I do love Kazuo though. He is like a brother to me. So, all right, trivia.
The answer to the trivia that we asked before the break. In Fire Force, what is another name for the Adola Burst which certain characters possess? The answer is the Genesis Flame. I also want to shout out, our Twitch chat, who during that entire, the 7 plots of anime discussion, we're giving out so many good suggestions that if you weren't watching, you're missing out. If you're screaming at the podcast right now, like, oh, how did you guys miss this one or whatever? Should have been in Twitch chat. You would have found comfort, but wasn't meant to be, I guess.
Well, the Twitch chat is pretty. They are elite. They are the best of the best. So, gotta say, and they're proving it. So, although I'm sure plenty of you at home are like, Mitsuki, you're an idiot, for uncountable numbers of reasons, but unfortunately, it's not quite as apparent because you're just not there on Twitch. So, all right, well, should I move on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for iTunes review.
So if you would like to leave us an iTunes review, you can head over to the AA podcast on iTunes, drop us a 5-star review, and we will read it on our show. And we also appreciate it. But also, please, if you have any criticisms, please let us know so that we can improve. But this person, living life to the fullest.
No, to the fullestest.
To the fullestest.
Living life with a Y to da fullestest.
Yeah, to da. Sorry, it took me a second to process it because it's a really long name.
These levels of swag have never before been seen.
This person says, "Hey, AAA, I started listening to your podcast in December 2018 after I tore my AC. Is it ACI or ACL? I can't remember.
ACL.
ACL.
ACL. Okay.
So sorry.
a ligament and fractured my tibial plateau. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I was stuck sitting as a Walmart door greeter for 3 months, and your podcast was a perfect way for me to pass the time while I was barely doing my job. Y'all are hilarious and have an amazing dynamic. Mason was a very spicy and fun addition to the host family. I mainly love how Mitz has become a lot less contrary over time. And Mandi with the manga recommendations is everything. But my most favorite reindeer of all is Enzi. Thanks for the quality content and congrats on 10 years. I wish you 10 more years to come. Oh, thank you.
Am I less contrary?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Mason was a very spicy addition, but that shine has long since worn off.
Was. Now...
Enzo remains supreme.
Let's pour some milk on that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
The fullest. We appreciate
the fullest.
The fullestest.
Yes,
the fullestest.
Thank you so much. And hopefully you'll find more manga recommendations for me.
And let's see. Okay, well, that I hope you recover from your ACL. I mean, that's a tough injury, but
what is that again?
The ACL, I believe, is the ligament on the outside of your leg, on your knee. So on the outside of the knee. So, and it's a super common, but very difficult to recover from injury. So
it's a big deal
and requires surgery, so to heal. So because I don't think that ligament has blood flow, or not at least good blood flow, so it won't heal. Anyway, but I hope you recovered. That's a tough one. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, people do recover from it now. Fire Force. We're doing our impression of Fire Force. This was the listener choice. I wonder if I have the listener choice poll still. I'm kind of wondering by how big of a margin it won the listener choice poll.
What margin and what it won up against?
I think it was pretty large, if I remember correctly, because I don't think there was much in this season.
There was not.
Yeah.
Well, I will if I can find. Let's see. I got it. I got it right here. Summer 19 listener choice, and the result. Oh, a ton of votes. Oh, listener choice just got Fire Force got 39% of the vote, and the next two closest were, "Do you like your mom and her and whatever two hit attacks at full power?" Or 15%.
Dodged a bullet.
Oh, it wasn't even close.
Did we question mark?
And then after that was Kanata no Astra with 8%. So Fire Force crushed this poll. I like that I still have it, though. That's pretty neat to go back and reference.
Kanata no Astra?
Kanata no Astra was one that I reviewed. It was kind of a comedy of a group of people that kind of got abandoned in space, like their spaceship broke down.
Oh, I remember.
But I've heard that it actually got to some really big moments and had a nice payoff at the end. I just didn't find the ability to sit through it. So,
well, it sounds lovely. So Fire Force, we do apparently we do the reviews for the things that you want us to do in listener choice. This was failed by Enzo in episode 483, I believe. He didn't like the fan service was one of the primary reasons, as I recall. But I wish Enzo was here; he could speak for himself. And boy, this is an anime where I am going to have a difficult time summarizing the plot line. But there is a guy named Shinra who joins a Fire Force group, and the Fire Force. Fire stations, I guess, there's 8 of them or so. Their mission is to extinguish the flames that are caused when human beings spontaneously combust into, I don't even know what to call them, monsters called infernals. They're basically like demons almost, and where they are essentially no longer human, but are, I guess, in a lot of pain and are suffering, and so they go around and they either defeat them, but through combat, or just shoot them in the head with a gun or something if they're really docile ones, because sometimes they're really violent and sometimes they're not. But and then Shinra's right from the get-go of the show, he's trying to solve this mystery of something that happened in his past where he lost his mother and his brother, and he's trying to figure out what happened, and he's trying to hunt down a demon that he believes was involved, and you're off to the races. It kicks off with a lot of sort of mildly episodic, scenes where they go out and they'll fight an infernal or put out a fire or whatever, and that's pretty much where it starts. So, let's see.
This is
That's
a 24 episode length show.
yeah, done by David
David
Productions,
Production.
who is a very popular studio nowadays. I believe.
JoJo.
JoJo,
Because of
Cells at
JoJo.
Work,
Yeah,
Bento. Yeah.
they're another one of those studios like Wit Studio that's just crushing it, with everything they do, and so how did you guys? What were you expecting going into this? I assume you knew it was a shonen, but like beyond that, how did you feel about this going in before watching it?
I can go first. So I didn't have many expectations at the start of the seasons. I had heard like murmurings of like problematic fan service at some points and like a drop of quality, but I don't remember if people were saying that was like a visual thing or story wise. Like I said, I've watched a lot of David Pro's works, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. They've kind of been all over the place. I found it strange. There's been a ton of not fire related, of firefighter related shows recently. You have Promare, the movie that came out. You have Ride Your Wave, the movie that came out. You have that sexy hentai show that Mitz had a little while ago. Like, firefighters are in Japan, and this was another one. So,
Do you like your firefighters to hit combo?
don't mind if I do. So yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect except shonen, firefighters, and potentially bad fan service.
When Fire Force first started airing, I watched the first episode and I was super into the first episode. I was like, the animation, the action scenes are fantastic, and I was super hyped. And I thought the first episode looked really good, and then the second episode, I was like, it wasn't as good as the first. And it was the third episode that I dropped it because I was like, as soon as Catgirl was introduced, I was like, I'm losing interest in this. It was just the fan service wasn't. It's not like it offended me, but it was just so shoved in there that it was like, I don't know, it was forced, way too forced. Where I was like, this is silly. And then I dropped it, and then it was picked back up for listener reviews. So I went into it with not a great impression of it. So, but I did think that the first episode was really strong. I really enjoyed that one. So I don't know. I didn't know what to expect after that. If it was going to continue, like get better, or if it was just going to continue on that path.
I think I had pretty high expectations for Fire Force going in. I think that at that point in time, people were talking about it an awful lot. It was, as you saw from the listener choice poll, obviously a standout from the summer of last year, and because of that, I expected a lot. And I think people were talking a lot about the action scenes, the animation quality being really high, and I'm like, oh, fight scenes with good animation, I guess I'm in. So, and that's about as far as I get generally on a lot of these shows. That's hearsay from the public, or or a trailer or whatnot. But so I would say I didn't know a lot. I knew it was a shonen, I knew it was gonna have a lot of fighting, and but beyond that, I guess the bar was fairly high for this going into it. So, Mason, since you started with expectations, how would you recommend this anime? In a spoiler-free way, would you recommend it to people?
I mean, the short answer is no. The long answer is I feel like I recommend people checking it out. I feel like it's a baseline level of it's more of a bland show than a bad show, and I think it's good enough at the beginning to give a shot and see if you think you will like it. I just overall, it was so devoid of a lot of stuff that it's just not worth it. And there were so many like moments of like good ideas, but like I didn't find myself caring. There's a moment where a firefighter is dressed like with neon, like he's going to a rave, with Dark Souls like Havel-esque heavy armor. He climbs up a ladder to nowhere and just WWE from the top rope. People elbows a top hat wearing plague doctor, and I don't care. And if you have such a crazy setup and just to follow it up with nothing, it's like there's so many moments that could have succeeded but just didn't. It was just so tepid and lukewarm that I think people will enjoy the very beginning of it, but it's nowhere near quality to justify 24 episodes worth. So don't waste your time. I'm going to say no.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't recommend it because I think there is so much better. There are way better shonen out there than this, but it's hard because I don't know. I've heard some people who really enjoyed the manga. Maybe it's better. I don't know because I haven't read it. But it's really, this is not going to be one of my better reviews. I feel really bad because I'm going to be honest with you. I was checked out through most of it. It was like Mason said, it felt really bland. I couldn't really care about any of the characters. And it wasn't until the very last couple episodes that I started going, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like the very last 2 episodes were when I felt like we finally were on a path. Like we finally had like, this is what the story is. And then I felt like there was like the massive majority of the show didn't matter. And they were introducing so many characters and so many, I don't know, different mini conflicts with each of them that none of that the big meat of the show felt like it mattered to me. And there are some really weird, awkward comedy moments. I don't know, maybe it's just me. They fell flat on me. Like I could tell they're trying to do something funny, and I just kind of raised my eyebrows, like, what? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I personally would not recommend it.
Unfortunately, I would also not really recommend Fire Force, and the reason it's not for me, it's not the fan service, it's not a lot of things. It's just that it's just too damn slow, you know. I think the anime, like, I really feel like it started to get good in the last. This is gonna sound ridiculous. Same. This is gonna sound ridiculous, but I think it got good like in the last 5 episodes. I know that's like wow, like ridiculous, but this is one of those anime where I literally think you could have watched episodes like 1 through 7 and then just skipped everything until like episode 20. You know, I really hate to say that, but like that's just really how I felt about it. And so, I mean, after just reviewing Dr. Stone, which I loved so much, and rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho and, you know, watching My Hero Academia, there's just a shitload of good shonen shows. And this is, in a strange way, you know, it had a lot of hype, but I just don't think it stacks up to the other shonens. And so, like, you could just spend your time better somewhere else, to be honest.
Yeah, I think maybe it's really unfortunate for this series because I think the manga is not old, but it's a little bit older. And I think having it come out in a time where we have Promised Neverland, Dr. Stone, we had Demon Slayer, maybe it just doesn't stack up with those, and that's why it looks worse. I don't know. It could just be me, though. I don't know.
All right, well, I'm gonna play the spoiler drop. We are gonna do the spoiler section, and if you want to watch this and you haven't, and you don't want to be spoiled, you know, GTFO.
Spoilers are coming. Oh my god!
All right, well, the story is tough. Like I'm kind of there with Mandi. Like I can't tell if the story just was incoherent or if it was just really thin. But like, honest to God, I think he summarizes the whole plot and one of the characters. And honestly, I only remember one of their names. Actually, I remember two of their names. I remember Sho and I remember Shinra. But the one of the lieutenants of the Fire Force Unit 8 summarizes the show at the end. I think he says, this group of people in the white coats want to like link the worlds of the demon world and the human world using the Adola burst because they want to destroy the world or something. And I was like, okay. I was like, really? Is that what this was all about? And I feel like it feels dumb. I feel like I don't know if it was because I was checked out watching this or if it was because the story was just took too much time in between moving, like putting down the next plot point or what. But to me, this was just a show where people just fought each other and fought infernals, and I don't even know why.
I feel really bad. That's why I said at the beginning, I was like, this is not going to be one of my better reviews, because I was also very checked out during it. It wasn't like it was... I just didn't care about anybody. I didn't care about anything that was going on. And that's why I feel bad, because I'm like, I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, you didn't get it. I'm like, well, maybe that's the show's fault though. It's that it didn't do anything to drag me in, because I'm usually really good at paying attention to stories. So I don't know.
Here's the problem with the show.
Here we go.
The appeal of the show is it's really trying to have these overly bombastic characters, almost like a Trigger-esque production, which I don't mind. It's not about the plot of them trying to solve the solution for fire. It's about having all these kooky, crazy, larger-than-life characters in a group, in a conglomeration, and letting them bounce off each other. You have characters like Princess Hibana, like the leader of the fifth group, and she has her throne of men. And it's like, wow, that's a big stylish thing. Whatever. The problem is that behind their turgid personas is there's nothing. Like these are the most surface level characters whose motivations and goals are so vapid, like that their ideals are destroyed in a puff of smoke. I mean, like the dialogue is so sparse and like lacking on content, is that like they're trying to sound like so cool and snappy that like there's no depth to any of them, and because of that there's nothing for you to sink your teeth into, so you have just lengths of episodes where it feels like nothing happens because the characters are so shallow that nothing can happen.
Yeah, I think the beginning of like the vast majority of the show up until the last couple episodes where I started finally getting interested, it just seemed like we were jumping from character to character to character, where they start out bad and then become part of the group. And that was just repeated over and over. But none of those characters that were being introduced had anything in them that I was like, oh, I'm really interested in this character's personal story. They all felt, like Mason said, very bland. I don't know.
Yeah, and I, I've never liked this, but I don't understand the choice to make the shark tooth character. As just talking about character design for a second, like, it's just a hideous thing to look at. I mean, I don't want to, someone's probably disagreeing with me somewhere, but like, I just don't like the shark teeth. I just don't do it. Don't like it.
For
I think it actually
Shinra, I think for Shinra, it just plays into him being a demon. He's supposed to look demonic, I think. And I did actually like that they later on explained why he is always smiling, because at the very beginning I was kind of put off. I was like, I couldn't tell if it was just an animation issue where he just always looked like he was smiling during events. And I was like, what is up with this character? I like that at the end they kind of explained that that's always been like his nervous quirk, is that even like when his mother died, he was smiling, and everyone's like, he's so demonic and awful. And then I think
even demonic. I actually think that the shark teeth works better in this series than it does in Mini, because I think it's episode 2 where they say, oh, I can't help but smile, it's a nervous quirk, and the lady Maki is like, oh, that's got to lead to some misunderstandings.
Yeah,
so they talk about it very early on, so I actually didn't have a problem with that. And there's a lot of good ideas in the show. I think just like the blue stripes and the firefighting outfits, I'm like, oh, that's kind of dumb, but then they're like, oh, it's to show up through the smoke. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. I like how the one enemy, it's not really a spoiler, he's got like the stars in his eyes. He's like, oh, by the stars, and he keeps on saying that, but then you learn his goal is to like join with the sun, which is the biggest star in the universe. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of good, that's kind of clever. There was so many little things, and I'm like, oh, that was a nice touch. I love all the puns, by the way. They're always like, oh, impressive firepower. Oh, and they're talking to Shinra. They're like, something's afoot with that guy because he shoots fire out of his feet. And they're like fighting. They're like, oh, this match is getting heated. I'm just getting warmed up. Like, there's all these like weird puns that I like, and I feel like I'm missing out on some of the naming humor. I feel like Shinra will call himself like this long, drawn out like superhero name at times, and I feel like there's a Japanese translation that just doesn't carry over well. And I feel like maybe there's some humor there that we're missing out on. So overall, there's all these small ideas, but it's just there's so few and far between.
I guess I just didn't care for the characters in this show much at all, and I think we've already said a lot of this, but there's 2 reasons. One is because really only Shinra has any kind of reason for being there, for the most part. Like, like I guess some of the characters had really sort of surface level stuff, but for example, the King Arthur guy, like why does he even matter? He's just like a character that just exists to be like this rival of Shinra who ultimately isn't a rival because he's nowhere near as strong. And then
It's a shonen. Episode 2 has to introduce the same age character. That's how it works.
And then I'm like, and then I must be just really boring, but I just don't like any of these sort of off the wall character designs. When like a character has like arrows in their eyes or X's in their eyes, like I'm just like, this is dumb to look at. It's the same way with me. I'm the least fun person ever. I don't want you to have 2 different colored eyes. I don't want you to have 2 different shades of color in your hair. I don't want you to have arrows in your eyes that go up and then down for no reason. I don't want you to I don't want you to have X's and O's in your eyes. I don't want you to have shark teeth. I must just be boring, but I don't want any of that shit. And
that's very similar to. Sorry, I keep on interrupting you. Go ahead.
And this show had a lot of that in it, and so I was just put off by just generally like the characters. I think the way that they looked. And by the way, when you're going into a tunnel of like dark hell or whatever at the end of the show, and you're trying to be like sneaky, maybe don't wear outfits with like just radiantly bright glowing strips on them. I mean, you kind of telegraph. The enemies are like lurking in the darkness and are shooting at them from the darkness, and these guys are like wearing fucking glowing like shit on them. Like, hello, what are you doing? Like, it's just dumb. I don't. Now I'm just ranting, but like, I mean, it's not exactly a smart idea to do that.
I didn't mind the character designs. I kind of like, because anime is a avenue where you can explore all these different kind of ideas. Like, there's nowhere else where you're going to be able to get like characters that look like this. So I don't know. I kind of like it when they experiment with different kinds of just things that you can't see in like the real world.
I mean, I was going to say this is very similar to Soul Eater's like.
Oh, I don't know.
Works by the guy where his aesthetic is very much a over the top thing, which I'm also fine with.
I don't know. Is it just me, or was the dialogue weird at some times? And I don't know if it's just the translation. It could possibly just be the translation of it. But there are some moments where I was like, that was like a really weird and like quote. Like, for example, like Benimaru was one of the characters that I did like. It's not just because he's Mamoto Miyano. 80% of it is Mamoto Miyano. But no, like there was like one quote in there where he tells Shinra that if you don't want to fight me, prove it by fighting me. And I was like, what?
So I think that's very much the trying to sound cool and snappy without content, because it makes sense. You know, he's from a world where everything is solved by fighting. Fighting determines who's the strongest and therefore who gets to make the rules. And so if you're having an argument, you should fight, and the winner of that fight wins the argument. So if the argument is, should we fight or not? And one guy's saying we shouldn't fight. He's saying we need to fight so that we can choose who wins the argument of whether or not we should fight. Like, it makes sense in that regard. And I didn't mind it, but it is a lot of that kind of, here is my attack, you cannot deflect it. And the other person says, I can deflect your attack, and just does. And there's just not more to it than that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It is just very stilted at times, though.
I guess as far as the story goes, like there was really only one reason to watch this anime, and it was the fight scenes. And
yes, really good.
And Benimaru was a big part of that. You know, there's probably 5 or 6 fight scenes in this that are just like, holy shit. And I think the first one was there's the scene where one of the bad guys has kidnapped a bunch of kids, and he's gonna put like the infernal bug into them, and Shinra shows up, and he has this fight with this guy who, it's the fight where ultimately he gets like locked in that ice at the end of the fight, and like Shinra just goes fucking ham on him, and I was just like, god damn, like Shinra, there's his kinetic energy in the fights is great. Like he'll just be like doing like somersaults in the air and then just come down on top of you with his heel. I mean, like there's some awesome fight scenes in this anime all the way to the end. I thought the last fight was kind of like, it wasn't that good, but that's the only reason to watch this show. And
there are some good fights later. Go ahead.
You just got to have more than that. You can't just have fight scenes. You know what I mean? So
the first couple of fights were absolutely horrendous. I
do
not understand why people like them. I want people to go back and watch the very first fight from episode 1. It looks cool because it's very kinetic, but the action directing done by Yuki Yase, who's done not a lot of action shows like this, the camera movements are so awkward and each shot lingers far longer than it should. And this like timing of a bother really like messes up the flow of things. Even if you watch like the opening song, which we'll talk about later, like this person takes out 3 enemies, but you don't see 3 enemies on screen and watch them bounce between them. The camera has to like shift and move to show one at a time, and it looks just strange. Why did they not just span out? But especially the first couple episodes, I thought the action directing was worse. And actually, as the directing got better in episode 8, I thought it was actually when the quality of the series from the story started to fall. So like as the action improved, the story got worse, and I thought that was interesting. Like there was a moment in I think later in episode 1 which was had the potential to be super cool, and it's like Shinra like lining up like he's about to run a race and explode at this infernal, and he's like thinking back to his family and his mom and like everything that's pushing him forward, and they have a flashback where his mom's like the itekimasu and iterashai, and it's like a nice moment where he's like, I'm about to go, mom, and she's like, please go, and like boom, he should have exploded right from there and it would have been super impactful. But they have this whole build up, and then they have the moment, and then it just lingers and it waits and it waits and it goes on for 10 seconds, and then he shoots off, and they just miss a huge opportunity. There were so many moments like that where I'm like, this had the potential to be better, and it wasn't, and it was very awkward.
I think all my favorite fight scenes were Benimaru. Like that one scene where he flies up in the air with that, like the big Edo flag, or that, I can't remember what they're called, with the pole, and he launches them all at the enemy. I was like, that was really cool. And I always came back for the fight scenes. There's a lot of moments where I was like, I don't want to say, I feel bad saying tuning out, but there are some scenes where I was like, I was processing it through, like watching it, but I just didn't care about anything. But like the fight scenes always got my attention. Yeah. So I thought that a lot of them were really well done. I loved the last 2 episodes. That was where I was finally like, okay, I'm interested in Shinra and his relationship with his brother. And I liked all of the flashbacks and him finally realizing that the demon that he kept seeing was his mother. And I thought the last 2 episodes were really well done. Everything before that, I don't know. But yeah, that fight scene with Benimaru is really, really good.
Should we move on to the art and animation?
Yeah.
I thought the animation was really good, pretty much the whole time. So,
yeah,
I can't complain about it at all. I mean, that's one of the strong points of the show.
Yeah, it looked good. It proves that you don't need like hyper realism or details to have a show that just looks good. I think most things moved well. The daifuku, like the mochi texture, was fantastically done when Benimaru was just like digging into him. It was really great. Overall, in a show with a lot of fire in it, they made the fire look good. I liked most of the use. The biggest problem was they used the same shot of like triple layer of fire for a lot of transition scenes. That was kind of, it grew old, but overall the fire looked good. Sorry, it just reminded me to go back. There's like these trio of mascots that are there, and they were absolutely pointless.
The little girls?
No,
the dogs.
The dog, the old man.
Yeah, I agree.
I kept on waiting for them to be like a spy or like part of another department or like have some deeper reference. No, they were just kind of dumb mascot characters. Anyway, back to the art. Overall, it looked good. I think one of my favorite moments was they're getting ready for battle, and the guy's like, prepare for battle. And the one dude like readies his axe. The other firefighter like cocks his gun, and then Shinra just like kicks off his sandals. I thought that was a funny like 3-frame transition. And I like how when the infernals get hit, they like spit out fire like it would be blood. Another nice touch. But no, art was mostly solid.
As far as like a design point, I thought some of the fire abilities were really cool because they weren't just, oh, here's a fire, I'm going to shoot a fireball. Like there was it Haibana? Like her fire, quote unquote, were flowers. And I thought that was really cool. Like her flames took the form of these flower shapes. And then it was Maki who had like elementals, and she was like considered, like they called her like the witch because she could control them as like her I guess summons kind of. I think that's what I'm trying to go for, like her familiars. And some of them them had some really cool abilities. As much as I disliked a lot of Tamaki's involvement in the show, I thought her like
Yeah.
cat ears and cat tail were pretty cool too. I don't know. I thought some of the abilities were really cool looking. Like I like the designs of them.
Yeah. As far as the music goes, the openings for this anime are freaking awesome. Both of them. I actually like the second one better than the first one. That second song is like it's badass.
How
Yeah, I
is
liked it
the
too.
English during the screamed vocals so much better than any English we get from voice actors in anime?
I mean,
it was really good English.
I thought the English in the second one was pretty much good just in general. Like,
Yeah.
it sounded like an English.
Wasn't that? I think that guy is Japanese American. I believe.
I mean, I thought the band was.
I think I'll look it up.
I was like,
Cold Rain.
Cold Rain.
Song
Yeah.
Mayday.
I was like, is
will-
this an English band? Because it sounded perfect English. I was like, wow. I was like, this, and the song was awesome.
Yeah,
The-
his mother's American, the vocalist.
Biggest problem with OP2, if that's what we want to touch on first, is that the text, like the visuals of like the people, the staff who worked on it, was very boring, and just the animation did not go along with the song at all. It was like these hardcore screams and this metal pounding stuff that Shinra just walks towards the camera. Like I saw like a YouTube video called Fire Force Opening 2, but it's good. And this guy just took shots from the show in the first OP and just resynced it to the opening, and it looked 1,000 times better. So I thought most of the openings and endings were fine. I thought the music during the show itself was easily the best part of the entire show. Kenichiro Sueho, like, he did Girls Last Tour, and this was very different, but it had all this grand orchestration. It sounded very movie-esque. It was by far the thing I was the most impressed by. It was real solid.
Yeah. The second theme was so. I liked the song so much that like the actual, like when I say I like the second opening, I'm not even talking about the video, the visual component of it. I'm just simply talking about the song, because like they could have done that. Song is way too badass to have such a boring opening. Like the first 40 seconds of it is just them like arguing inside the back of like a personnel vehicle. I'm like, it's not. They could have done a lot better with it, but the song itself was awesome. And the first song, I think, gets more credit than the second one, and it's probably because people didn't get far enough into this show to even hear the second song, but the first song is pretty good too.
The first opening, spoilers question mark, have them fighting this massive fire like Titan. Like it's this huge behemoth. We never saw anything like that. Is that like a spoiler for future seasons?
Oh,
is that
yeah.
a manga reference? Like, was that just to sell people? Wow, look how cool the show is, and we're gonna have nothing like it. The song was fine.
Could be.
Inferno by Miss Green Apple.
It could be a good point.
Whatever.
What do you think, Mandy? You like the music?
Yeah, I thought the music was really good. Like you said, I like the second OP song more than the first one, but I thought visually the first OP was a lot better than the second one. Like there were a lot of moments in the first OP where I was like, that actually looks a lot better than what's going on in the show. Like I just thought it looked really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All around, for sure. I have nothing else to add about this show unless you guys want to like throw something else out there. I'm ready to give it a score and put it to rest. I'm ready to put out the fire here. You like that, Mason?
Did you guys want to touch on Shinra's brother, like their relationship at all? We didn't really mention like much about it.
I mean,
but I thought it was kind of weird. Like at the last episode, when Shinra declares that he's going to change show, I was like, oh, I had this feeling was like now the show is just starting. Like it felt like a long ass prologue to like the actual series. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
I mean, I don't. See, honestly, I feel like the last fight, which is where Sho mostly shows up, Shinra's like not really fighting him because it's his brother, and he doesn't even remember him. Sho doesn't even remember him, and I just wanted to watch them tear each other apart. I really did, and I don't understand how Shinra just gets his ass beaten in that fight. I mean, how many hits can a guy take and not die?
Because Sho doesn't know what side of the sword to use.
Apparently, he hit him with his sword like 60 times. You know, it's almost like I just watched Yu Yu Hakusho, the Toguro fight, and Toguro punches him like squarely in the face. I don't know, 150 times, and Yusuke's like fine, you know. And I'm like,
Sho
okay.
can
I'm like,
only
oh, okay.
stab people when it's by accident, I guess.
Yeah,
It was
apparently.
so impractical. It was.
I don't know.
Yeah,
so drawn
the
out.
conclusion to that was so weird.
I don't have much to add about it. I guess I just wanted more of a fight. Like, to me, in a show where the fighting is the best part of the show, I kind of want the best fight to be at the end. Like, the climax should be right there at the end, and I don't think the best fight was at the end. I mean, I even thought the fight where the guy gets locked in the ice or whatever with Shinra, I thought that fight was better, and that's like episode 8. So I was like, whatever.
Well, the power is the stop time, so they just had a bunch of single shot still frames to have them bouncing around the arena. Like, oh, it's so fast you can't even see it. I'm like, wow, what a great way to justify lack of budget.
Sounds like Dragon Ball. That's what Dragon Ball does. But Dragon Ball probably didn't have the money because like, oh, we got this budget, but we got to make it work for 300 episodes or whatever. But, you know, it's like, it's not exactly the case here.
I will say the coolest moment of the show that was absolutely badass was the fire demon. I won't say who it is, but they are so blinded by the grace of the being in front of them that they drag their own horns down through their forehead to cover their eyes. I'm
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Okay, that was pretty metal, my man.
That's pretty metal.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
What do you guys think about Joker?
Oh, you mean knock off Hisoka?
Yeah, knock off Hisoka.
I barely remember who you're talking about.
He was the guy who like jumps in. He has like the smoke clouds with the bandana over one of the eye. Who's like, "Oh, Shinra, there's more to the mystery. Come and find out what it is." And you find out, and there's definitely more at play. And we barely got the story, but he's the guy who like sabotages the training and stuff.
Yeah, I felt like he was just kind of thrown in. I don't know. It's weird that we don't learn anything like about him at all in the first season. He's just there, like as he knows a lot more than knows a lot more about what's going on than the protagonists do. So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
All right, now we're ready to score it.
I think so.
I got nothing else to add to it. You know, this is a show where I was basically bored. It took me forever to watch this anime. I started watching this thing like 3 months ago. That's how long it took me to get through it, and I didn't. The problem was just that the story wasn't engaging. And that was the main issue for me. You know, and maybe it will have an engaging story eventually, but I really feel like this show didn't grab me until like the last 5 episodes. And you know what? You just can't expect someone to watch a show for 6 hours before they get to the stuff that hooks them, and it's unfortunate because I had high hopes for the show, and I feel like there are people that like it, and they're not going to like these scores, and you know, it is what it is, and so I just can't it's almost like the tale of two halves or whatever. Because if I was going to score it based on the last 5 episodes, it would have been a much higher score, but I'm going to give it. I don't even know what the hell to say. Like probably, I'm gonna generously give it like 2.5. Adola bursts out of 5 because it looked good.
Nice. Man, do you want me to go or you want to go?
You go.
Yeah. So I would have dropped this if not having to review it. I honestly don't blame Enzo for failing it, and I don't blame the listeners for passing it. I think the first couple of episodes were solid, and I was digging it. But the more I had to watch these characters who were just so vapid and had nothing to them, I just grew disconnected, and I watched all of it and just I didn't get any themes. I didn't get any messages. There were no lessons. I just watched it, and it existed, and it ended. The fan service was distractingly bad and rough to sit through at times, and overall it just, for every good idea, it just had so many ones that just offered nothing to the table. So in honor of Maki's Sputter and Flame, we're going to give it 2 Kawaii Fireballs out of 5.
Kawaii. Oh, you know what? I did like her.
Yeah,
she was another character that I liked.
She was no more, didn't have any more depth than any other characters. I just liked her, so.
I liked her because I thought it was really cute when she like loves her fireballs, but everyone keeps telling her you need to stop playing with fire.
I
But
like Takahisa as well. He was a good boy. The glasses guy who cooked a lot. Anyway,
oh
that
yeah,
was it.
yeah. Man, if again, like Mitz said, this took me all week to watch. And usually when we review something, like even Cop Craft, I finished in like a day.
That was a bad day, wasn't it?
That was a bad day. Yeah, this one took me a while because I felt like I just had to take a break after each episode. Man, it was just the characters felt so bland for me. And it's weird when your comedy moment is like this girl trips and somehow flies across the room, flips upside down, lands with her crotch on the guy's face. I'm like, that's just trying too hard. I'm like, surely you can make some better edgy comedy out of this. But yeah, but like the last two episodes were when I actually started caring about what was going on and became a little bit interested. There were a few characters in there that I liked, and I did love the animation. So I think I would also give it 2 Benimaru eating mochis out of 5.
I want to make 2 quick comments. I'm sorry, I know I already went. One about the fan service. I was trying to not talk about it, but you just reminded me. So yes, it was bad. There was 2 types of fan service though. There was the, like you're saying, the haha, it's a comedy. Look how crazy she slips on the skateboard, ricochets off the wall, all her clothes come off, and she lands in a funny position.
It was
haha.
like trying so hard.
Classic comedy. That one was like groan worthy, but it was fine. It was the, oh, they're in a fight with an enemy. They shoot a fireball at the woman, and all her clothes just eviscerate.
Oh man, Discord was done with it.
Yeah, Discord's like
people can't say. Anyway, when that happened, and then a guy gets in a fight and he gets cut to shreds, but they just get little cuts on the shirt and nothing happens. That's when the fan service was way more like, okay, that's more of a problem in my mind. My other comment was going to be our listener scores, I think, tell the whole tale here.
Yeah.
So Mandi graciously puts out a poll on Twitter and Facebook and all sorts of things for you guys to rate the score. And we had, on a scale of 1 to 5, we had votes on every single spectrum.
It's a perfect bell curve.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
It's a bell curve.
Impressive.
The average was a 3, right down the middle. Right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you had people, there were people with 5s, people with 1s, people with, yeah, the average was a 3 because it's a bell curve, you know, right in the middle. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump that, to steal that from you.
No, that was perfect. There is a bunch of really good feedback comments you guys have gave. We do not have the time to read them on air, but I will read all these after and respond accordingly. But I do appreciate you guys voting in the survey, giving us your feedback. We appreciate it greatly. Mailbags, once again, we'll have to wait for another time because we spent a little too much time talking about trains and all sorts of good stuff today, but this was a fun one.
Yeah, I do want to just mention one person's comment. Eris just put a poop emoji.
I thought that was funny.
I was like, that was
great.
on
Twitter.
Yeah, funny.
All of the comments, there was some, like, because I have to put them on the sheet, and I was reading them as I was putting them in. I was like, there's some people who loved it, and there was a lot of people who were like, this was pretty bland. So I thought it was really interesting, the variety of responses we get. And this had a pretty big turnout. The Shonen ones always get a lot of votes and comments. So thanks, guys.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to our episode 514. It's always great to have all of you tuning in and listening, whether it's through Twitch or through iTunes or, you know, whatever app you're using. You know, we're thankful to have all of you as our audience, and we're going to continue to do our best for you. And next week we're gonna be reviewing Beastars. So that'll be fun.
I told you that we should probably move that a week because it doesn't come out till the day before on Netflix.
Oh, God damn it, Netflix.
I requested this a while ago.
I say we should do Carolyn Tuesday, but
all right, big question marks then, yeah.
TBD.
TBD, I guess.
TBD.
Okay, well, guys, again, if you want to help out the podcast, you can do it over at aaapodcast.com/join. You will get our member RSS feed that will let you access all of our extra content, our hentai episodes, our hobby addicts, our after parties, all on your favorite mobile apps. So please check us out over there, and you can get a lot of extra content. We did, like I said earlier, we just talked about Final Fantasy VII's remake demo for an hour, so you can hear us discuss that. We're going to be doing an after party after the show today, where we're going to be talking about all kinds of other stuff, including I'm going to be talking about how I climbed up a huge mountain and almost froze to death, and so much more. And if you want to find us on our social media, of course, you can find the podcast on iTunes. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on our Discord. Mandi, you are over at AAA_Mandi, I do believe, with an I on Twitter.
Yep.
I am at Pope Mitsugi. Mason is a spicy boy, so he is not partaking.
Find me over at AnyList or MyAnimeList, any of those sites, MAKLAX.
Twitter doesn't have rankings. So.
Yeah, exactly. Twitter doesn't keep track of my hobbies, so until then, these sites will have to do. And of course, Discord's the best place to give us the feedback and hang out with 1,700 like-minded people.
Yep. And we'll see you guys next week on the podcast. Everybody have a safe and fun week. Do something cool, and we'll see you then. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.